with Tim Walz is another example of that. And, you know, with Tim Walz, while we're not 100% sure why he caved to President Trump, gave President Trump everything and by the way, I will talk about the Tom Homan and Bovino story. Don't worry. We're going to get to all of that in just a bit. But what prompted Tim Walz to surrender everything to President Trump? There's some speculation on it. You know, a lot of it very well may have had to do with that Signal chat story, because in that Signal chat story, there was a lot of detailed illegal things going on with the protesters. It's probably a variety of things, but regardless of what the reasoning was, which we don't know yet, this is what we know for sure. Tim Walz surrendered the rebellious Confederate state of Minnesota to President Trump, and Trump won and got what he wanted, and Tom Homan's coming to town. And, you know, I know that some panicans on social media, and I'm sure today in the podcast influencer sphere, a lot of these panicans will go out and go after Trump, and I've seen a little bit of it already, where they're saying, oh, he caved to Tim Walz. Nothing could be further from the truth. So far as Bongino, whatever the fate of Bongino, we don't really know. There's reports he's being sent back to his post in California. There's some reporting today that he doesn't have access to his social media through the government. We don't know. I don't know. And you know what? I don't care. You know what I care about? I care about Donald John Trump, the 45th and 47th president of the United States, and what he is doing. And you always got to trust in Trump. If you're MAGA, you've got to trust in Trump, that he knows what he's doing. First of all, he knows more about everything that's going on than you and I will ever know, right? He's forgotten more about Minnesota than you and I will ever know, all right? And what's happened in Minnesota, not only did Tim Walz cave and President Trump got everything he wanted, we have the state police. They've moved in and are moving out the protesters. President Trump didn't have to invoke the Insurrection Act and send in the army. And things are already improving in Minnesota because of Tom Homan, right? So, one, the state police are running off the protesters. Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of War, has spoken with Tom Homan, and the ICE agents are no longer going to stay in these hotels that the mobs are going after in town. They're going to be staying on a nearby military base. So far as personnel being removed, they may be transferring some people around, but we could end up with more federal agents in Minnesota. But the main thing that's happened in Minnesota is this. One, Tim Walz caved, gave Trump everything he wanted, and is now cooperating with President Trump. It could be as simple as Tim Walz is afraid of going to prison. Something has happened where Tim Walz is 100% cooperating with Donald Trump, 100%. We've had a leadership change from Bongino and Kristi Noem to Tom Homan, who we all love. He's already coordinating with Pete Hegseth to house the Border Patrol and ICE agents on a nearby military base. And there's a major tactic change. You know, what's been going on in the last couple of weeks and getting worse in Minnesota was the Border Patrol and ICE agents were trying to enforce the law and at the same time do riot control as they were being surrounded by these protesters. Border Patrol's that's not their mission. That's not their training. Their training isn't in riot control. And who can serve warrants on wanted felons while you're doing riot control at the same time? And President Trump, as always, made an incredible decision and an incredible choice. And if President Trump did not intervene, get Tim Walz to cave, put Homan in charge, it was only a matter of time before somebody else would get killed. There were other shooting incidents. There's been a lot of incidents going on, okay? So anyone who tells you that Trump caved, they're either fake MAGA or some panicking that you don't want to listen to because they're out of their mind. This is going to end up being better for many, many reasons, because President Trump is able to get control of the situation without sitting in the Army. You know, sitting in the Army in an American city, that's a last resort. That's something you do when you have no other option available to you. It's not something that you want to do. If you're new to the program, my name is Brian Craig. This is where MAGA comes to talk. Subscribe if you're new. If you're already subscribed, please like the video. And if you don't mind, take the video's link and share on all your social media. Become a part of my marketing team and share with all your friends and followers on all your social media the link to this program and invite them to check me out. If you don't mind, I'd appreciate that. I know a lot of you have been doing that. It's been helping grow the channel quite a bit, and I want to thank you all who have been doing that. And also those of you that are new, anytime I'm in the studio live streaming, whether it's this studio, the radio studio, I'm always taking live calls, okay? And it's a toll-free number no matter where you're listening, 888-465-2631, 888-465-2631. This is the pre-show. The radio show will begin in about 10 minutes. So this is the early show, guys, that you're getting right now. But you're still welcome to call in, and the number's the same, of course, as when I'm on the radio. But make no mistake about it, Trump did not cave. Tim Walz caved. This is going to end up being better. There's a major change of tactics going on because Kristi Noem and Bonvino just were not able to get control of the situation or get local officials to deal with them. Already, Tom Homan talking to Walz, talking to Fry, the lunatic mayor of Minneapolis. And Tom Homan already has started taking control of the state of Minnesota so far as the immigration enforcement. And by the end of today or tomorrow, he will have total control of the situation with major tactic changes. That's it. It's no withdrawal. You know, it's amazing, these panicans. What did you want? Fighting in the streets every day? Endlessly with people getting shot? I don't think so. All right, let's take some calls. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Good morning, Brian. Doc from Texas.
Yeah, Doc.
Hey, man. How are you this morning?
I am well, thank you.
All right. Hey, look. I agree with you. Trump didn't cave. Trump started looking at the thing. He said, you know what? I need to get these people out of there because it's getting to the point to where more people are going to get killed, and I just can't. His administration couldn't handle another.
Well, there's one problem with that. The people aren't getting out of there. The federal government is not leaving Minnesota, and we've got a new general. His name's Tom Homan, and the operation is going to be more successful. No, there's been no withdrawal.
No, it's not, Brian. What you don't understand. Trump, he didn't cave. He read the handwriting on the wall.
I agree with you. Trump did not cave. Trump did not cave. Tim Walz caved.
No, he didn't. Tim Walz didn't cave neither.
What are you talking about? I saw video this morning. Tim Walz has the state police kicking out the protesters.
No, Tim Walz didn't cave.
Yeah, well, then why all of a sudden do we have the Minnesota state troopers arresting protesters? If Tim Walz didn't cave.
Brian, Tim Walz didn't cave, Brian. And
I didn't ask you that. If Tim Walz didn't cave, excuse me, slow down. If Tim Walz,
let me finish.
No, you didn't. No, you ignored my question. If Tim Walz did not cave, how all of a sudden did the Minnesota state troopers all of a sudden start rounding up these protesters?
Again, I'm gonna say it. Trump didn't cave. Tim Walz caved. You had two men get in the room, talk it out like adults, and say, you know what, we can't. Trump said, you know what, I'm losing so bad, I can't take another loss. But
you didn't answer my question. How did these state troopers in Minnesota all of a sudden start?
I just answered your question.
In fact, I'm going to show on YouTube right now video of it. This is.
I just answered your question. I just answered.
The Tim Walz cave.
Nobody caved, Brian. Adults get in the room again.
Tim Walz is now using. Tim Walz is now using the state troopers to round up these protesters.
Brian.
That means Tim Walz is now on the side of Trump.
Again. No, he's not. He's not. Nobody caved. What part is that you don't understand? Nobody caved.
You are gaslighting yourself. You're gaslighting yourself.
Nobody caved. I'm not gaslighting. I'm just saying the truth.
You're trying to get yourself through the day.
You keep thinking. You think Trump is a god. Trump is no god. Trump
He's not
is
a god. He's a great president.
No, he's not. Trump is a man that has faults in you, which y'all don't want to admit, and be done with it. Nobody caved. You had two adults get in a room. They got homeboy ass out of
They didn't get in a room. They had a phone conversation, and then the next thing I know, the Minnesota State Troopers are rounding up the protesters.
Again, they got whatever you call his name. They got his ass out of Minnesota. So you need to go back where you need to go.
Using the profanity.
Oh yeah, but that's not profanity. It is what it is.
No, it's profanity. It's like profanity, but it's profanity.
What you ass? You can't say ass no more. Really?
You can, but it is profanity.
Oh,
all right. I appreciate the call. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Yeah, good morning, Brian. This is Richie.
Hey, Richie.
I could tell you hit it right on the head. First of all, who called who? And I can tell you why this happened. It's a thing called optics, and the optics for President Trump not good with this situation, but he had no choice because the governor and the mayor wouldn't give his police department instructions to cover for the ICE agents when they were going to get.
But now that's changed because Walz has the state troopers of Minnesota rounding up the protesters.
Exactly, and a lot of them have hit the road because a lot, and also it's that signal chat that has a lot.
A lot of people believe the signal chat story I was talking about yesterday was the big thing because they were sharing. They were doxing these federal agents, a lot of crime, and there was coordination with state Democrat Party officials in Minnesota.
Yeah, people within his administration, the next in line. What her name? You know, the crazy one. His assistant governor. But it also is that hotel, the tearing up of that hotel. He and the autonomous zone he lost the optics. It's obvious as hell. And then he had James O'Keefe. I sent you a little thing. I don't know if you saw that. Whether James O'Keefe, he was scared to death. They surrounded him and was so. The bottom line is everything was starting to fall apart about his story. This is the regular Minnesotans, the neighbors coming together. This was a setup. And they got caught.
And I'll tell you, Richie, I promise you, the money has been cut off to the protesters. That was funding them. It's been cut off.
That came out of a guy from Canada.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know that?
Yeah.
The guy lived, and he told these people that are on the run, and a lot of them scattered.
We're going to find that a lot of these protesters are Canadian. Remember, I played some audio, and you can hear the Canadian accents in some of them. Yeah, some of them are Canadian.
They are. Yeah, the Canadians are. The guy is a left-wing fanatic running it out of Canada.
Mm-hmm.
It's incredible, and you picked it up right away. You said I said it might have been a Portland accent. You said no, Canadian. You heard the A and the way he pronounced words. And these were the ones that were basically the big mouths in the crowds. And so I think it's optics, and I think it's that signal chat. And he did cave. Anybody that tells you that Trump caved, you got to be kidding me.
And let's face it. Let's face it. Kristi Noem is not a cop. She's a great administrator. She's a great governor. And Bonvino just wasn't in control for whatever reason. And Tom Homan's in there taking control.
I got to tell you something. The border guys not the borders. The guy was in charge that to send him back to the border.
Yeah, Bonvino.
Not only did he lose control, they went out there. That one day they were out there setting people up. They very fast with the pepper spray and very rough. Not for nothing. Yeah, they had to be because I guess they were fed up. Mm-hmm. But they didn't have any idea. They were agitating things that were worse because that's what they wanted. That's what this crowd wanted. They wanted their reaction to get really hostile, and it looked. The optics for President Trump did not look good, especially especially with that guy getting shot on. Even though it was, I believe, justified. I believe it went down. I believe that gun did go off. You know that Zighow or whatever. They have.
Well, there's been a lot of reporting that the Zighow. How do you pronounce the name of the gun? The Sig that he had. Zighauer, whatever. We call it a Sig. That it has a hair trigger, and I don't know if Steve Kane had this gun for about 2 days that had a hair trigger, and you touch it, you just had your finger touch the trigger, the gun would go off, and there's some reporting that the guy's gun might have accidentally gone off during the struggle. You
could see it. You could see when the officer pulled away, it discharged into the cement. That's when everyone opened fire because, they're gathered around this guy. There's a lot of movement. You hear gun, you hear boom, and you think, oh, my God, boom. And that's when they all opened up on him. That was their training. But you see, they're not.
But these panicans, oh, he's fired. But we don't know what the situation is with Bovino. He's been sent back to California. Does he have access to it? I don't care about Bovino. I care about Trump and his agenda. And, Tom Homan, when I saw immediately that he had already talked to Pete Hegseth and they're going to keep the ICE agents at a military base nearby, immediately there's a grown-up in charge. He knows what he's doing, and a major change in tactics. And go ahead.
I was going to say, the ICE agents are not being cut. People think, oh, they're sending ICE back. No, Border Patrol. Border Patrol was there to back up ICE. Now the police will back up ICE.
ICE and Border Patrol are two different groups.
They didn't realize it.
Yeah, and a lot of these lefties don't know.
They don't. The lefties were attacking reporters. If you weren't with them, you were against them.
But that conversation between Trump and Walz. There's more to it than just the signal chat. For Tim Walz to send in the state troopers in riot gear and round up the protesters on a dime, that's a pretty big deal.
Let me say this to you really quick before you go on here. If Tim Walz goes down for that Somali deal, that they find out he's involved and has to go to prison, he needs President Trump on his side to maybe down the road pardon him.
Maybe.
Not for nothing.
Maybe.
What do you want? You want to have Trump have bad taste in his mouth? You go to prison, you'll never get out.
Yeah.
No. I think that had a lot to do with it. He's got his pants down. He's been caught, and he knows he's caught.
Whatever Trump told him, it was a pretty big deal because Tim Walz caved on a dime. On a dime.
Yeah. Can you imagine? Imagine him telling Tim Walz, "We got your debt to rights on the Somali fraud."
Yeah.
Okay, I'll do anything you want. I can imagine that happening.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, I'll talk to you later on.
Yeah, we got a minute till the radio show starts. So those of you that are new, my name's Brian. I host a morning radio show that's on a whole bunch of radio stations, FM and AM. And I live stream here on YouTube while I'm on the radio. And this is the pre-show. All right, we're about 45 seconds away from the radio show starting. So I got to open the radio show in a little more than 30 seconds. So the callers you hear, many of them that you'll hear on the show today are radio listeners, and many of them are people that are watching live on YouTube. So if you're new, make sure you subscribe. If you'd like to call in, all the calls are screenless and unvetted. The call-in number is toll-free. It's pinned in the live chat, 888-465-2631. 888-465-2631. You're all welcome to call in whether you agree or disagree. You're welcome to call in, all right? But I think you're going to have a hard time disagreeing with this, all right? Welcome to the program, everyone. My name is Brian Craig. It's Tuesday morning already, and you are listening to Florida's longest-running radio show, The Steve Kane Show, on the radio since 1977, celebrating 49 years on the radio. Oh, boy, big day. President Trump had major victories yesterday. Tom Homan in Minnesota surrendered the Confederate state of Minnesota to President Trump. And Canada surrendered to President Trump as well on that China deal. So we're going to cover all of that. Now, they're going to start going after Kristi Noem, and I'm going to get into that in a few minutes. But make no mistake about it. Tim Walz 100% caved to President Trump yesterday in Minnesota. In the late night hours, Tim Walz, who was standing up with the Confederate state of Minnesota on Sunday, all of a sudden, yesterday when the sun went down, Tim Walz sent out the Minnesota National Guard to round up the protesters. The Minnesota National Guard, under the command of Tim Walz, started rounding up the protesters in the middle of the night in the freezing cold of Minnesota. That is a total caving to President Trump, and now he's cooperating. Bovino is removed from his position there, sent back to California, it's being reported. There already are some MAGA people that are criticizing Trump, these panicans that the president talks about all the time. Listen, if someone is siding with Bovino over President Trump, they never were MAGA, okay? They're fake MAGA. Who cares about Bovino? I care about President Trump and his agenda. Things were falling apart in Minnesota before Trump got involved yesterday and Tim Walz caved. Why Tim Walz caved, we don't know for sure. There's a lot of speculation, the Signal chat, possibility of a pardon from President Trump for the Somali pirate fraud operation in Minnesota. Who knows? But I do know this, Tim Walz caved 100%, completely surrendered to Trump. He's cooperating with Trump, working with Trump, and he sent his state troopers out to round up protesters last night, and they've been doing that and running them off. Tom Homan already talked to Walz. He's meeting with Fry, the mayor of Minneapolis. Tom Homan has already coordinated with Secretary of War Pete Hegseth. Pete Hegseth released a statement yesterday that ICE officers are going to stay on a nearby military base moving forward, not hotels that are getting attacked with all the protesters, and there's a major tactic change. There's also a big misunderstanding by lefties out there who don't know much about anything. That's why they're liberal. There's been no withdrawal by the federal government from Minnesota. That is not true. They're moving ICE agents in to replace Border Patrol agents. ICE and Border Patrol are two different groups of federal agents. They're two different groups. Border Patrol agents were there to give backup to ICE. Bovino's the Border Patrol chief. They're moving them out, him and them out, but the ICE agents are still there, and we could find that more come to town. Or maybe not. Maybe they don't need as many. You know, what's been going on for the last 2-3 weeks has been getting worse and worse. Border Patrol and ICE agents were involved in two things without any cooperation from local authorities, right? Of course, serving warrants and arresting illegals, but they also had these rioters around them. Border Patrol and ICE, they're not riot police. They don't have training for that. To do both at once is impossible. Things were escalating. 2 people have died because of the Democrats, because of the left, and because of the individual leftists themselves who did things, which I'm not going to sit and debate anymore. We've talked about those situations enough. But President Trump knew that if he did not intervene and make a change with leadership, which he did by sending in Border Czar Tom Homan, and get control of the situation, that more people would die. It was only a matter of time. So this is an amazing thing that happened. I mean, you know, I was listening to Tim Walz Saturday and Sunday, and it was like listening to Jeff Davis in 1860. If Jeff Davis could have done press conferences on television in 1860. It was really frightening because he was talking like a Civil War governor, pre-Civil War governor, right after the election of Lincoln. It was pretty scary. And President Trump on a dime on that phone call got control of the situation. What he told Tim Walz, that got Tim Walz to not only completely cave, but send in the state troopers to round up the protesters, who knows? We don't know at this point. There's a lot of speculation. And some of the speculation, some of it may be true. We don't know. But what we know is this. President Trump, you know, his memoir, I've said this since the first term, you know, maybe President Trump could give me a royalty for this title. But President Trump's book, when he leaves the White House, should be titled The Art of the Political Deal. Because the art of the deal is, President Trump is a top negotiator. He got everything he wanted in Minnesota, and the situation by the end of today or tomorrow will be completely under control. And this mob that's been rounded up in the overnight hours by the state police, many of them are going to leave on their own because they no longer have support. I also think it's a fair guess to assume that the money's been cut off of the protesters. So it's over. And how they do the deportations moving forward when Tom Homan is in charge of everything as he is now, I don't know. I don't think they'll be so high profile. We'll get reports on them happening, but we're not going to have these riot mobs honking their horns and blowing their whistles following ICE agents around during deportation operations like we've been seeing. President Trump, with a phone call, got control of the entire situation on the same day that he got Canada to surrender. Now, I am, after the break, I'll take some calls. If you'd like to call in, the number is toll-free 1-888-465-2631. 888-465-2631. You're welcome to call in no matter what your opinion is, whether you agree or not. You're welcome to call in. And those of you that are new to the program, the way we do things here on the program is different than any other talk show you'll find. Our calls are 100% screenless and unvetted. I know a lot of people make that claim, but they don't. They're all screened. We don't have anyone answer the phones. When you call in, you're just immediately put on hold. No one answers. And we don't know who you are until you hear me say, you're on the air, what's your name, where you're calling from, and then boom, then we know because you're there. Okay? No other program does that. And we do that by design. It makes the show more interesting and also more unpredictable because I don't know who's on hold. I don't know what's coming up. I don't know what you're going to bring up. And this is how I've always done the show, and we continue to do that today, even, all these years later. And so people that are new, sometimes it's a little confusing to them because no one answers the phone. That's why. Now, very exciting, big holiday coming up. You guys know what it is, right? Valentine's Day. There is no better place to shop for Valentine's Day than mypillow.com. With our promo code Kane, there's huge savings site-wide on pillows, towels, blankets, slippers, all kinds of things. This is the perfect place, mypillow.com, to do your Valentine's Day shopping. You're supporting, of course, our program, our radio station, and the next governor of Minnesota, Mike Lindell. Use our promo code Kane at checkout, Kane, for huge savings site-wide. You can also order by phone, 1-800-716-4879, 1-800-716-4879. I have all these MyPillow products. I've had them for years. They're great. My wife and I give people MyPillow gifts all the time, all year long, and everyone loves them. So there's huge Valentine's Day savings right now. Go to mypillow.com. Promo code Kane at checkout, Kane. Save up to 80% off. You can also order by phone, 1-800-716-4879. Promo code Kane, Kane. We'll be right back. All right, we'll be back in less than a minute. I will go back to the phones. We're still in radio station break. The number is 888-465-2631. It's toll free no matter where you are. 888-465-2631. We have 30 seconds until we are back. If you're on hold, stand by. I'm going to go to the phones when we get back. But President Trump, brilliant. Did a great job. All right, stand by. All right, we're back. I'm Brian. You're listening to The Steve Kane Show, Florida's longest running radio show. All right, we'll go to the phones. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
How you doing, Brian? This is Jason from Massachusetts.
Hey, Jason,
Talked
what's
to
up?
you yesterday.
What's up, Jason?
Hey, I just wanted to say, because I know you mentioned on Tim Walz and why he caved, but my theory is this: if I was Tim Walz and I was speaking to the president, I would probably say that everything's out of control, property damage is out of control, there's chaos in the streets. And I would probably be begging for some help right now. And I think that's why the state troopers went in. How long can he sit on the sideline and watch all this happen to his own
That may be
city
true, but if
because
you
he
remember,
decided it?
Tim Walz, you know, he's not the only weird one in the family. The whole family is a bunch of weirdos. And his weirdo wife, remember during the campaign, was talking about how she was enjoying the smell of the burning tires in the city during the BLM riots. That she had the window open to the governor's mansion.
I didn't believe that was true. I didn't even believe that was true.
No, that's true. She loves the, they love. I think it's. My guess is it has more to do with him trying to avoid going to prison for the Somali pirate operation that they have going on.
Because there's billions of dollars in Somalia of American money.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Who knows? We don't know. You could be right.
I don't understand. I don't understand why Dems aren't upset about that. Like, even if you're a Democrat, you should be upset about the billions of dollars that are in Somalia right now, right?
Well, you mean that? They've been sending the money to Somalia. Yeah, it's like it's a money laundering operation for foreign aid to Somalia.
How come the Democrats aren't upset about getting ripped off? It's not like just the Republicans got ripped off; the whole country got ripped off.
Because Democrats are just crooked people. That's it.
Well,
it's amazing how fast Tim Walz caved to President Trump. I'd love to have heard that conversation. The art of the political deal. And President Trump's been very vague about the conversation, if you notice. Not a lot of details. He told him something, and Tim Walz is like, oh boy, I'm in trouble.
Well, maybe it's a lawyer thing, like a legal thing. He's not going to say anything yet because it's a legal thing.
Maybe he'll tell him maybe he told him he'll give him a pardon for the fraud. Who knows? He did something. Or maybe,
I hope not. I want to see him against the wall.
Or maybe he told Tim Walz that they won't wake him up out of bed to arrest him, that they'll allow him to surrender. Right? Who knows? All right, appreciate the call. Who knows? But President Trump told him something. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
My name's Aaron from Kentucky.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, hold on, Aaron in Kentucky. All right, go. I know it's early. What's up, Kentucky?
Oh, I think I figured out how the Democrats are going to 100% take over and they're going to take over. And here's how they're going to do it is for years now they've been, I don't know how to put it, but dumbing everybody down, and they're putting stuff in our food and water and everything, Yeah,
but we've taken that, but we're taking that stuff out now.
We are now, but
we're not talking about the election. Now. We're talking about what's been going on in Minneapolis and the president.
Yeah. Oh, well, this is part of it. This is why that's happening, is because those are all a bunch of useful idiots. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
That have been, that's how they got these people to that level, is whatever they're putting in our food. I mean, look what it's doing. I mean, have you heard what these protesters say? It's like the most brain rot stuff ever. I mean, what have they been doing with TikTok?
Well,
and
my guess is,
stuff?
you know, I was talking to another caller earlier about this. You know, I've been following these protesters, and I've played some of the audio. A lot of these protesters have Canadian accents. And I think a lot of these protesters in Minneapolis are from Canada. There was the big funder of the protest is a Canadian.
Oh, I heard about that.
Yeah. So I think a lot of the protesters are Canadian.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look what they're doing to them. They're taking their rights, but these people, whatever they're putting in the food, it makes these people go, you know, it makes them
Hey,
worship.
listen, I appreciate the call. Okay. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Good morning, Brian ID.
Hey, Abby, what's up?
If I know this, obviously Trump knows this, so I believe obviously it's about the money and him covering his butt. Like the guy just said about Somalia, you see, a lot of people don't understand that it has already been proven that $2 million a week. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, $2 million a week was going out by Somalians themselves. This is from a guy that works at the airport that deals with money. You know, money coming in the country, they have to track it and so forth. And you need certain approval to take money out of the country. So it was 2 stops ending up in Qatar, and then from Qatar, then the money goes to Somalia, which then funds al-Shabaab. So Trump already knows that he's not only stealing money, but he's helping fund terrorists. And what I wanted to say to you last week, and I said I'll bring this up. Trump also knew that they were using a particular airport out of Minneapolis to shuffle the people all these people that we know were missing, including the kids at all ages, all types of people were being shipped out. So now not only that he's human trafficking, sending money to terrorists, but some of those people, like one guy made a good point last week. I wanted to mention this. Some of those people, why his connection with China is because when you're sick and you have to wait in line for a certain organ, well, the rich people in the black market doesn't have time for that. So what they do is they go to the black market and
what's that got to do with Tim Walz and Minneapolis and what's going on?
Because this is a part of the fraud operation that those are the Somali couple that was doing that, running those people without being noticed. And Trump has this also over his head. This, to me, is bigger than the money itself. The money is outrageous. But to know that you're smuggling children and people around the world, body harvesting organs and so forth. See, Trump knows all of this. All of this together, Tim Walz has to now throw someone under the bus to save his butt, like Richie said, possibly to get a pardon. There's no way out of this for him other than some kind of jail time.
He may have told Tim Walz that he'll make sure that he gets put in a nice jail. You know what I mean?
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. All right. Hey, IB, I got to move on, but I agree with most of what you've said. All right. Let's see. What time? Yeah, we got time for more calls before the break. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, it's Ben from Pompano. How
Hey,
you doing?
Ben. What's up, Ben?
Hey, so I think this is most reminiscent for me of the lawfare that we experienced just before Trump got into office. And I called you and I told you that whether it was Alvin Bragg or Fannie Willis or Letitia James or any of these guys, if you just scratch beneath the surface, you will always find corruption. Why? Because everything you're doing is a lie. The lawfare is a lie. They are corrupt people by nature, and the only people you get willing on the Democrat side to actually pursue Trump are corrupt psychopaths to begin with, because he didn't do anything wrong. So you'd have to find someone who would be okay persecuting someone innocent just out of pure ideological hatred.
That's right.
And that's the same thing that we're seeing in any time you see a Democrat go up against Trump, like we saw with Tim Walz. He was talking a big tough game, Mr. Manly Man, during when he was changing his his air filter in his car, trying to act so tough during the Kamala campaign. Now he's caving because he is, for him to challenge Trump like he's been doing, having his administration throw stands in the gears to get ICE in and out of there safely.
Yeah.
You know they got something on him, and the proof is in the fact that he stood up against Trump.
It was you know, Tim Walz, it was too quick, and then when I saw that that Tim Walz sent in the Minnesota State Troopers to round up the protesters last night, whatever Trump told him in that conversation scared the daylights out of Tim Walz. Scared him.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, he did a complete 180. His whole thing was like, we're fighting the resistance, the Gestapo.
Yeah.
You know, Mr. President,
and boom, on a dime.
Stop. Like, yeah, he was taking such a moral, high ground, like sanctimonious stance. You know, he was trying to act like this leader that was being like besieged by the federal government, and then all of a sudden he's twisted around Trump's finger. So I really would be curious to hear what Trump said.
Indeed.
But
all right, I gotta run for our bottom of the hour break, but you make some good points. All right, take care. If you'd like to call in, the number's toll free 888-465-2631. I want to talk about Tom Laporta from Laporta Roofing, and those of you that are new to the program, Tom Laporta is amazing. First of all, you know, his company was voted one of the best roofers in Fort Lauderdale. I mean, for that to happen, you know how many roofers there are in Fort Lauderdale? He's voted the best in Fort Lauderdale. You know, there's more roofers per capita in Fort Lauderdale than any other city in the world, I promise you, because Fort Lauderdale's Hurricane Alley. And Tom Laporta at Laporta Roofing was voted best roofer in Fort Lauderdale. He's a good MAGA guy, and he'll never sell you a roof you do not need. And people ask me about that a lot. What does that mean? He'll never sell you a roof you do not need. If you need just a simple repair, Tom Laporta will do it. No other roofer says that, I'll tell you. And I have talked to multiple people in this listening audience who thought they needed new roofs. Tom Laporta came out and took a look and said, no, you just need a repair, including one on a big condo that it was that several other roofers came out and told them they needed a new roof. Tom Laporta can handle the job of any size, whether it's one home or one office building or an HOA with over 450 units. He covers both the east and west coast of Florida. And get this, he's not just a roofer, he's a contractor. And under Florida law, Tom Laporta can deal directly with your insurance company for the cost of the replacement or the repair of your roof. He does residential, commercial, and municipal roofs. Give him a call or text. This number rings directly to Tom Laporta's cell phone, 954-604-4602. 954-604-4602. And online, LaportaRoofing.com. We'll be right back. I got to heat up some coffee in the microwave. All right, we'll be back shortly, guys. Hold on. Okay, just over a minute. I gotta go grab my coffee. I put some coffee to heat up in the microwave during the break. Let's see if it's ready. It's ready. All right. Less than 30 seconds, and we will be back. We're back. I'm Brian. It's the Steve Kane Show, Florida's longest running radio show. We're talking about the surrender of Tim Walz to President Trump. We'll take some more calls, and I'll bring up some of the new issues involving that. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from? You're on the air. Once, twice. All right, you missed your...
Hello?
Yeah, oh, you just made it. Yeah, you're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Okay, I may have missed it. Oh, Richard from Pompano.
Hey, Richard.
When you said Canada caved in, I didn't get it. I just want to know how they did it, because I am so angry with Canada.
Yeah.
Don't they realize this is our hemisphere? What a great team we would make. And so could you tell me
It's
how
real
did they
simple.
cave in?
That China deal that Carney, the Prime Minister of Canada, was going to make, they called it off. No China deal. It's totally off. Totally caved. Totally off. No China deal. Wow. Canada surrendered. Tim Walz surrendered. It was a day of victories for the United States and President Trump yesterday.
All right, that's great, because we're one big neighbor. Everyone's in the same neighborhood here. And
you know, I know a lot of Canadians, a lot, and you hear a lot on the show. We have a lot of Canadians call this program. You know, every day we hear from Canadians, and Canadians are on our side. They're like held hostage. You know, it's a small country, not land-wise, population-wise. So they have some, you know, they have some liberal centers that keep them held hostage. But most Canadians I talk to love Trump and love us.
Yep. Okay.
All right. I appreciate the call from Pompano. You know, Florida's First Lady, Casey DeSantis, she was talking yesterday, and not much to say about this other than I may have to make sure. She was talking about some candies have arsenic in them, traces of arsenic, which is like poison. Isn't that what they use to poison rats? I don't know, arsenic. And one of the candies that Casey DeSantis mentioned was Jolly Ranchers. I'm a Jolly Rancher addict, you know, and I buy Jolly Ranchers by the pound, and I love them. I've eaten them all my life. I eat them today, every day. I love all the, excuse me, I'm all choked. It's probably all that arsenic I've been eating, excuse me. But it's amazing, the caller earlier that was talking about the foods, and, you know, and when she said that yesterday, I'm like, holy smokes, how many Jolly Ranchers have I eaten in my life? How many have I eaten this week? You know, and I have this huge Tupperware container. See, those are Jolly Ranchers, filled with Jolly Ranchers. I buy them like by the pound, and I fill them up, and then I get them again, and it's just, I guess I gotta stop. I don't know. Yeah, there is a lot of truth that so many of our foods have been poisoning us. There's no doubt about it. Okay. So the Democrats, they're going to start going after Kristi Noem now. And this is what they do. And this is being widely reported, but I'm going to share with you this story from the Daily Mail. Here's the headline. Democrats set to probe Kristi Noem amid calls to resign as Homeland Security Chief, and Corey Lewandowski huddle with Trump at the White House. Now, it's been rumored for a long time that Kristi Noem and Corey Lewandowski are having an affair. I don't know. I don't care. Kristi Noem held a 2-hour meeting with Donald Trump Monday night. This is in the Daily Mail. Amid fallout from the shooting of Alex Preddy as Democrats called for her to resign. Well, of course, Democrats want everybody to resign that's a MAGA. Noem was joined by aide Corey Lewandowski in the Oval Office after Trump sent border czar Tom Homan to Minneapolis in a major shakeup, according to the New York Times. Chief of Staff Susie Wiles, Caroline Leavitt, and others were also in attendance. The Secretary of Homeland Security requested the meeting with Trump after her defense of the border agent who shot Preddy. On Sunday, Noem referred to Preddy as a domestic terrorist. During a press briefing Monday, Caroline Leavitt said she had not heard the president characterize him as a domestic terrorist. House Democrats launched an investigation into Kristi Noem, where 140 members have co-sponsored an impeachment resolution. Of course they have, because they know there's a good chance she could become president, okay? And they're trying to do damage to her, and she's done a great job. You know, when that story in her book came out about the shooting of the puppy, I thought Kristi Noem was done, but she's done a very good job as Homeland Security chief. But the Democrats are trying to wound her so she can't be J.D. Vance's running mate in the next presidential election, possibly. She's very good. If she doesn't run for vice president with J.D., because I think the favorite to be his running mate's Marco Rubio, she could stay in the cabinet with J.D. Vance. That's possible. Or she could find her way into the Senate. But she could be the third MAGA president. There's no question. She's very good, very well liked, and doing an incredible job with the deportations. And they're all, you know, the Democrats, they're all about slandering people and trying to stop them from further political advancement. All right, back to the phones. If you'd like to call in, the number's toll-free, 888-465-2631. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Good morning, Brian. Kenny, Palm Beach.
Hey, Kenny. What's on your mind?
I was just thinking, with Walz turning on a dime like he did, he's naturally going to be pissing off his base of liberal loonies.
Yeah.
So what would prevent some of these loonies being so aggravated that all of a sudden they decide to have a little revenge on Walz and really start spilling the beans?
Well,
you know it's not going to go over well.
My guess would be, you know, the Somali pirate scam, the Somalis didn't set this up. The Democrats of Minnesota set this up, right? And those political assassinations in Minnesota last year probably are connected to it, right? So a lot of people are now terrified of going to prison, and Tim Walz broke ranks, right? So the rats are going to scramble on the sinking ship. So yeah, so you're right. Yeah. There's a lot of panic going on. But then again, maybe Tim Walz is the one who is going to be the rat. Maybe that's the deal that Trump made with him.
Well, there's going to be a lot of singing canaries.
Tim Walz will do anything to avoid getting arrested and going to prison. That's how this whole protest violence started in Minnesota, was for him to avoid going to jail.
I know. I hope the country as a whole can take a collective deep breath, because maybe we'll see some of this rioting and whatnot stopped. It may not be stopped entirely, but it's going to be certainly way less than the ridiculousness we've been seeing on the television.
No, I agree.
And videos and whatnot.
I agree. All right. Well, I appreciate the call. You make some good points.
Okay.
All right. Take care. We've had some great calls today. Keep it coming. I love it. Smart people calling in. 888-465-2631. You know, by the way, on an unrelated note, I saw on X yesterday some Gen Z person was correcting the typing of people that are millennials and older. And they said that the new rules of, I don't know if it's grammar, but the new rules of, typing, you know how when you type, and you end a sentence with a period. Before you start the next sentence, it's 2 spaces, right? Period, 2 spaces, and then you start typing again. I mean, I still do that. I do that when I write emails. I do that when I'm texting. I do that, the 2 spaces, I do that when I post to social media. Period, 2 spaces, next sentence, right? And Gen Z saying, that's not the rule anymore. No, I know they want to do away with grammar and spelling and everything else. I read so many news articles a day, all online. It is amazing to me the typos and ignorance that I see in news articles I read. The wrong words being used, not just typos, but spelling errors that should never be allowed. But no, it's still period, 2 spaces in the next sentence. We have not changed the rules of American Standard English, grammar, and etiquette with such things, okay? It's bad enough. They're dumbing down people so much. You remember a couple years ago how reports came out that young people cannot write in cursive any longer? Do they teach cursive anymore? I mean, none of us handwrite as much as we used to, but I use cursive. I write little notes to myself, like little reminders sometimes during the show, and sometimes I print, sometimes I write in cursive, but no, I'm not going to take grammar advice from Gen Z that cannot even write in cursive, okay? No, I don't think so. All right, so let me get back to the news and issues, but first we'll take our last break of the first hour, and I want to remind you guys, it is tax time. I was reading some articles today. People are getting the largest returns they've ever received by far, by a lot. Some are getting returns for the very first time, but people that regularly get returns are getting much larger returns. You want to call Jamie Levac at Swift Tax. He knows the new tax code with the big, beautiful bill changes inside and out better than anyone. He blew my mind away when I met with him. He can handle your taxes. He's located here in South Florida, but he can handle and do your taxes no matter where you are in the United States. He can handle not just your federal taxes, but your state taxes if you're in a state that have state taxes, your local taxes, your business taxes, your payroll taxes. If you're a business owner, he can even help you with your books. Even if you already have an accountant, call Jamie Levac. Have him review it. Jamie Levac will make sure that you get all the deductions that you are entitled to under the new tax laws, and that means he's going to make sure that you get the largest tax return that you are entitled to. This number rings directly to Jamie Levac. You can call or text 954-773-1587. 954-773-1587. That's 954-773-1587. We'll be right back. All right, if you're on hold, stand by. We are in radio station break for 25 more seconds, and then we'll be back. Great news, just all this winning. You know, people often ask, is there anything you disagree with Trump on? There's one thing I disagree with Trump on. I'll never get tired of winning, right? Right, and I think most of you are with me on that. All right, here we go. Welcome back, everyone. I'm Brian. Let's go back to our phones. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
I'm Victor from Silver Spring, Maryland.
Hey, Victor. What's on your mind?
Well, I've been monitoring what's been going on in Canada, and the people in Alberta have finally had enough. It's just a matter of time when they may want to become the 51st state. I'm not holding my breath, but there's rumblings going on. And as far as the news talk up there, they're, of course, bad-mouthing the U.S. every chance they get. And it's just interesting to hear what's going on up there.
Yeah, well, you know, I don't know if we would want them as a state because they'd get 2 senators and a whole bunch of House members. But they could be a territory.
Yes. But I'm just keeping an eye on them. I tune in their news talk just for fun to hear them complain. And anyhow, I'm glad to hear you again. I found you on WPSL.
Oh, great. Awesome. What is that on the dial?
I think it's 1590.
WPSL in Port St. Lucie. Well, welcome.
Yeah, thank you. It's good to hear you again.
All right. Well, it's good to hear you.
Thank you.
All right, take care. Yeah, it's you know, we have some new stations that are carrying the show now, and that's pretty awesome. And welcome to all the new listeners. All right, our number is 888-465-2631, and I wanted to share something with you guys. And by the way, PSL is AM 1590. By the way, WPSL AM 1590, and welcome. All right, so some new poll numbers came out, and these are fantastic numbers, and they come from CNN, and I'm going to go over them in just a few minutes. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, Brian. How you doing? This is Dave from Pennsylvania.
Hey, Dave. What's up?
Oh, I agree 100% with you. I love all the winning. I'm not tired of it.
No doubt.
And I hope it keeps continuing because I'm going to vote the midterms, and I hope a lot of people do the same to keep President Trump on the winning streak.
Mm-hmm.
And as for my opinion, I think he told Governor Walz, he probably gave him a final warning, either straighten it out or he's going to have to be forced to use the Insurrection Act. That's what my belief is.
Or it had to be more than that because Tim Walz did a complete 180 and sent the Minnesota State Troopers to round up the protesters last night after dark. It was more than that. Mm-hmm. It was whatever President Trump told Tim Walz, it scared the daylights out of him.
Oh, yeah, because when President Trump says something, he means it. So probably woke him up there.
Yeah.
But, yeah, and I appreciate your show and 3 other ones, I believe, because there's other ones that are wishy-washy. And
there's other shows? There's other shows and other radio stations and such? No, there's not.
Yeah. Well, one of the other guys is in your state, and you talked to him about a month ago. I'm not going to mention his name, but
I talked to
there's 3
him?
good ones out there.
I talked to...
Yeah. Well, can I say his name?
No, I don't know who they are. No, you know, the reason that I don't let people promote other shows because people wonder, and I don't know who these people are. They could be leftist lunatics. They could be clans. I don't know. So that's why I don't let people do that because I need to know who they are before I let people promote them. But anyway, I appreciate it and welcome.
Yeah, I listen to you, so I like your show.
Well, you do have great taste in talk shows. Thank you so much. All right, yeah, so I want to share this. CNN had some amazing polls, and it's very specific about the deportations. And I share this with you guys because all these panicking about the midterms. The midterms are ours to win if we have a massive turnout. Listen to this, and these are just beautiful numbers. This is CNN, by the way. Okay, now this guy, he talks so fast. I went to you ever been to an auction? I went to the livestock auction once. Oh my goodness. Yeah. This guy talks so fast, and I understand it's CNN. They're reporting the story, but if they talk fast, maybe it won't sink in. Here's the poll question, and this is only the first. I'll get to more later. If you're on hold, hang in there. This is the poll question. Do you want to deport all immigrants here illegally? New York Times poll. 55% say yes, deport all illegal immigrants. Marquette, 64% say deport all illegals. CBS News, 50% of those polled say deport all illegals. ABC News, that bring us The View, 56% say deport all illegal immigrants. And by the way, this is a poll that was done of Americans, which is the least scientific of all, meaning a poll of Americans is the most left-leaning, right? There's three types of samples when you're doing polling. The most scientifically accurate is likely voters. Likely voters are defined by pollsters as registered voters who have voted in the past 2 elections and tell the pollster they're going to vote in the next election. That is the most scientifically accurate. Next down the list is registered voters, which is left-leaning, but, because they could be registered and never vote. And the least accurate and most liberal-leaning poll is that of Americans, because they may not even be registered to vote. Who knows if they're even old enough, right? And in a left-leaning polling sample, do you want to deport all illegal immigrants? 55% of New York Times, yes. 64% Marquette, yes. CBS News, all these hate Trump. 57% say yes, deport them all. Liberal ABC News, 56% say deport them all. So not only is he ahead on that issue in all the polls with that question, look at the trend. The trend is all well over 50%, even in a left-leaning poll. So the country is behind President Trump when it comes to the deportations of illegals. I've got more polling data that I'll share coming up. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Michael in Pompano.
Hey, Pompano, what's on your mind? Here we go.
I just found this guy. I'm not even sure what his name is, but I absolutely love the show. He's fantastic. I just wanted to ask him what in God's name he thinks is wrong with liberals in general.
Okay, that would be me, and my name is Brian Craig. Welcome to the program.
Oh, hi, Brian.
You're on the air.
Oh, okay. Yeah, listen, Brian, fantastic show, man. I just found you. And I love what you're doing, man. You're my go-to now at this time of day.
How'd you find the program?
I had it preset to. I guess in the off hours it's country music.
I don't know. I don't know where you're listening.
I just turned it. Well, I just came down from Georgia, so maybe maybe it was something up there.
Okay, I don't know what radio station you're listening to, but what do you know? What radio station you're listening to?
Show, and I love your topics.
Okay,
right? You're fantastic. You
welcome,
really are.
Welcome. So, what was your question about Democrats?
Thank you. Yeah, listen. How can so many millions of people be so devoid of common sense?
Yeah.
I mean, men and women's sports, open borders. They don't understand the repercussions of open borders, letting criminals out of jail, sanctuary city. How can you be so stupid, man?
Well,
I know you're not a psychologist.
If you notice, I'm not a psychologist, but I'm a sociologist of sorts because for over 30 years I've been talking to liberal idiots on the phone. So I've got a lot of experience dealing with these loons. Maybe I'm more of an anthropologist. I don't know. But there are nowhere near as many Democrats as there used to be. I'll tell you that right out the box, okay? Yeah. There aren't as many as there used to be, as these polls I just went through. And, we're a country that has over 300 million people in it, and we have a few million degenerates and mental patients. I mean, look, there was a story, there's been several stories in the last few days. This nurse in Boca that worked at a hospital delivering babies was wishing death on Caroline Levitt when she gave birth.
Right.
There was an anesthesiologist at a hospital in Miami yesterday who says he will not treat MAGA people as patients. He works at a hospital in Miami, a big one too. I'm not going to say the name of it. It's just becoming a story. So you have a lot of mentally ill people in a country this size, and the mentally ill gravitate to the Democrat Party, right? I mean,
well,
that's it.
So listen, just so you know, if you see a guy walking around with a T-shirt that says "Destroy America, Vote Democrat," that's me. I had a bunch of them made up.
Where are you calling from again?
I live in Coral Springs.
Oh, Coral Springs. All right. Well, welcome, Coral Springs. Make sure you go to Wings Plus, one of our sponsors, Sample Road and Coral Springs.
They will do.
Okay.
And they love my T-shirt in Starbucks.
Oh yeah. Oh no. I take my MAGA hat off when I go to Starbucks. They may give you decaf.
Well, be honest with you, I knowing how sick they are, I don't want to get any of my stuff vandalized, so I don't push it that much. I don't let anybody know, that's my car or that's my motorcycle or whatever.
Well, listen, I got to run for a break, but welcome to the program.
Thank you very much. Love it.
All right, take care. A lot of new listeners to the program today. Yeah, I love it. It's awesome. Welcome to all the new listeners. It's the Steve Kane Show. My name is Brian Craig. This is Florida's longest-running radio show on the radio since 1977. Callers on hold, stand by. We'll take our break for the top of the hour, and I'll finish going through the polls. 888-465-2631 is our number. Back right after our top of the hour break. All right, we'll be back in about 35 seconds. My wife has me growing my hair out, so I'm going through that phase. This is the phase where I always like chicken out and go and get a haircut. So, but she wants me to keep growing it out. It's getting long. All right, stand by, guys. All right, the 7 o'clock hour has begun. I'm Brian Craig. You're listening to Florida's longest running radio show, The Steve Kane Show. I'm getting text messages like crazy during the break. All right, so I'm going to rewind and start the polls over because there's several polls here that CNN broadcast. And, you know, these polls that I'm sharing with you, I'm not big into polls, okay? If you've listened to the show for a long time, I'm not big into polls. But I do share polls and for certain reasons, okay? What I look for and the reason that I'm not big on polls is because the media, they put out what are called push polls. The truly scientifically accurate polls we never get to see. When you hear in the media or from politicians talk about internal polling or the internals, they're talking about the polls that the campaigns do themselves. Those polls, those internal polls, have confidentiality agreements connected to them. And they're never released to the public. The polls that we see typically are polls that the media do to push an agenda or to have something to talk about. And that's why I don't talk about the polls too often. However, these polls I'm sharing with you because there's a major trend. And that trend is America supports Trump and what he's doing with the deportations. And it's important to share this. We're in midterm election season, okay? And Trump's numbers are well over 50%. Another thing I look for in polls when I do discuss them is you don't hear me talk about isolated polls too much. But even with left-leaning polls, I look towards the trend of the polls, And this was liberal CNN, and I'm gonna start it over again because there was some other polling I didn't get to play at the end of the last hour, but for people that are just tuning in, you need to hear this. We're in midterm election season. I have been telling you for the last 2 or 3 weeks since the violence in Minneapolis broke out, that the majority of the American people are on the side of President Trump when it comes to the deportations. And I pointed to the fact that what was going on in Minnesota had not spread to other cities or states. That if the country was against President Trump, we would have these protests all over the country, which we didn't. And now this polling came out, courtesy of CNN and the New York Times and CBS and ABC, all Trump haters, and it shows that the country is behind Trump. And in this midterm election season, we can win it, and we can gain seats in the Senate, and we can gain seats in the House if we just have a massive turnout, swamp them, like we did in the presidential election that brought President Trump back for this second and non-consecutive term. So I'm going to rewind and go over the beginning and play the whole thing. This is amazing. This is CNN, and the question they ask is, do you support the deportation of all illegals? Okay, I'm going to stop there. Now, this is what I played before the top, and there's more polls I haven't shared yet coming up in a moment. So the question is, do you support deporting all illegal immigrants? New York Times poll, 55% say yes, they support deporting all illegal immigrants. The Marquette poll, 64% say deport all illegal immigrants. Trump-hating CBS News, that's 60 Minutes, 57% say deport all illegal immigrants. And Trump-hating ABC News that brings you The View, and they had that crooked debate with Kamala's sorority sister moderating the Trump and Kamala debate. Remember that? ABC News poll, 56% say deport all immigrants that are here illegally. Not only is Trump well over 50%, even 60% in the Marquette poll with this, the trend, every poll is well over 50% in Trump's favor. All right, let's go on. Okay, now let me go through this number, okay? This is an amazing number here, okay? It shows, okay, this question was and again, these are all left-leaning polls oversampling Democrats and Trump still winning bigly. On the question of, do you support deporting all illegal immigrants, they're showing polls from different years. In 2015, that was when the president came down the escalator, 42% supported deporting all illegals. In 36% supported deporting all illegals. And in 2024, 56% of those polled in this left-leaning poll supported deporting all illegal immigrants. So notice, since Trump came down the escalator and has been on the scene, there's been a major shift in public opinion about deporting the illegals. All right, back to this. This is CNN yesterday. Okay, now this is the latest poll. New York Times, this is amazing. This is a poll taken this month. This month. Do you support deporting the illegal immigrants? 63% in the New York Times poll say yes, deport the illegals. 63%. New York Times poll. So the left are overrepresented in media and give you the impression that this nonsense in Minneapolis is mainstream. These anti-immigration loons, if they're even Americans, because like I said, I think there's a lot of Canadians in these Minneapolis protests, just based on the accents I'm hearing, okay? No, they don't sound like they're from in Fargo. They don't sound like William H. Macy in Fargo. They sound like Canadians. A boot, you know, all that. They say hospital instead of the hospital. They say grade 3 instead of third grade. I've been hearing a lot of that from these protesters. 63% of Americans, and that's a left-leaning sample. So if it was a scientific poll, it'd be higher. 63% of Americans in the New York Times poll support the deportations going on right now. That is in a poll that was done this month. So don't let these liberal loons make you think that we're on the wrong side. Not only are we on the right side, we have the 63% of the American people behind us. The other side, they're in a cult. No doubt about that. Now, I want to talk about our real estate guy, George Colony. Oh, man, George Colony. You know, I've known George Colony my whole life. He hasn't known me all that time. But the reason I've known George Colony all my life is because I've seen his name on real estate signs all over Fort Lauderdale my entire life growing up in Fort Lauderdale. He knows real estate. And, you know, he's not just a real estate agent. He's a businessman. George Colony understands real estate in ways when I talk to him I've never heard discussed before. He is amazing. You know, and, you know, he says, people often ask, when's the right time to buy and when's the right time to sell? And he says it's always the right time to buy or sell if you have the right representation. George Colony is going to make sure that you get the maximum price for the property you're selling, and your new property you get for the lowest price possible. If you're looking to buy or sell, if you're out of town, out of state, out of country, looking to move to Florida, call George Colony. This number rings directly to George Colony's cell phone. You can call or text 954-801-7320. 954-801-7320. That's 954-801-7320. For George Colony, we'll be right back. Oh, man. All great news, guys. All great news. No doubt about it. If you're on hold, stand by. If you'd like to call in, the number is toll-free, 888-465-2631. 888-465-2631. All right, we will be back in about 30 seconds, guys. We're still in radio station break. Okay. Okay. All right, stand by, guys. If you're on hold, hang in there. All right, welcome back. I'm Brian. You're listening to Florida's longest running radio show, The Steve Kane Show. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Good morning. It's Seven of Doug.
Oh, hey, Doug.
Firstly, I'd like to say, like that shirt. Did you do that, or is that something you bought?
Oh, you're watching me online? No, I bought this shirt from someone. I'm not sure who. Oh, no, a listener sent this shirt to me that I'm wearing. This is a shirt that a listener sent to me.
That's pretty cool. I like that. I got some Trump hats with Trump and Pence. Maybe
most of the Trump shirts and hats you see me wearing, if you ever see, are shirts that listeners have given me.
So, that's nice. Very nice.
Yeah. And since I lost all this weight with Coastal Weight Loss, I've gotten a whole new wave of people sending me smaller shirts. So I appreciate that. Because the other ones were too big.
Well, it certainly is that's a cool idea. Anyway, the pendulum is swinging back to conservative side. This is great that everybody is now wanting to get these illegals out of the country and slow down the people coming here. That's really nice, and that's a left-wing poll, man. That is really showing us, because
and it's not just one poll; it's a whole bunch of polls. And and including that latest New York Times, where over 60% support deportations. That's amazing.
That's really amazing. New York Times in particular. I mean, I guess there are a lot of them from New York, and New York's probably sick to their stomach that they got this new mayor. So they're all probably saying enough is enough. So it's great to see that the country's waking up. The country's waking up, and it's about time. Because what they've been doing to us and these rioters and everything, we got to get rid of them next and figure out a way to stop them.
That's right.
And once that happens, the country will be great.
That's right.
We're heading to the right direction.
You are correct, Doug. Well, hey, Doug, I appreciate the call, all right? You take care. Oh, before we get back to the issues, I want to mention, did you see this thing that Mamdani, the mayor of New York, made the kids do distance learning yesterday? When they had the snowstorm? Why do you think he did that? Why do you think they couldn't physically go to school in New York City yesterday because of the snow? Mamdani made them do at-home learning, whatever that means, as opposed to having a snow day. Why do you think he did that? Think about it. I'm not going to troll for calls on this, okay? I'm going to I hate when people troll for calls and throw out a question like that just to see how many people can call. And sometimes I'll hear people do that on other shows, and then like the first caller will get it, and I know it's the answer, and they'll say no, because they didn't think it would get answered. It's like that episode of WKRP where they had the music contest in the first season of WKRP in Cincinnati. Remember that? So why do you think? Just think about it for a second. Mamdani did not let the kids have a free snow day. He made them do distance learning in the public schools. Why do you think he did that? I'll tell you why. You know why? Well, while I've spent most of my life in Florida, and I started school in Florida in the 5th grade, my first K through 4th grade was in the great state of Ohio, and I remember going to school in the snow, and I remember the blizzards and everything else. But snow days were like the best days. You get to stay home on the snow days, and you'd play in the snow, and snow days are an American tradition. Snow days, it's almost like a rite of passage for kids, isn't it? That's right. You go out, you have snowball fights, you make angels in the snow, you do all that stuff. It's a snow day, and it's so exciting. You pray for snow days. Mamdani, since he's not an American in his heart and mind, I know he's an American legally, but he's not an American in his heart and mind. He doesn't think like an American. He doesn't know what snow days are. He doesn't understand that old American tradition of the snow day. And that may seem like a minor thing to a lot of people, but it's not. I told you guys this when Mamdani was running for mayor, that he may be an American citizen. He speaks English with an accent that he works very hard to cover up. Probably his movie director, Oscar-nominated mother, probably has had like a dialect coach from the movies to help him out with his American accent, and you don't hear it all that much. But he doesn't know about the American traditions and the American way of life, because in his heart and mind, he's not an American, right? And he doesn't understand the snow day. And those of you that as a kid remember snow days. Now for parents it sucks, because you may still have to go to work, so who's going to watch the kids? And I can't even remember that. I can remember on snow days, it was hectic because the parents have to go to work. So what do? So you went, and I remember on a snow day or two, I went and stayed at a friend's house that I never stayed at before because it was a snow day and it was a last minute thing, but mom still had to go to work. But that's it. He just doesn't understand. And this is not going to be the first time that we see Mamdani not understand American traditions. And on top of that, the people around him they don't understand American traditions at all either. Or someone would have said, hey, no, Mayor, you can't take the snow day away from the kids. That's part of growing up. Yeah, I know it's not the most important thing about him, but it's just one of those tells, that he's not an American in his heart and mind. I know he's an American legally on paper, but the way he eats with his hands like Mayor Fry in Minneapolis and all that stuff. There are finger foods, but the stuff he eats with his fingers aren't finger food. Rice is not a finger food, okay? Not in the United States, it's not. Hamburgers are. French fries are. A few other things are, but not like rice. And looked like he was eating porridge to me. I don't know what those foods are. All right, so just to recap the big story of the day, by the way, the snow days. Those of you out there that remember snow days as a kid, snow days are like Norman Rockwell when it comes to American tradition. And you guys, you remember the snow days like I. One of the things I remember the most about my time as a little kid in Columbus, Ohio, are the snow days. I remember a couple of them like they happened yesterday. Okay, now back to, it's true. Here in Florida, we have hurricane days, right? Those aren't as fun as snow days. They're not. So just to recap the big story of the day, and then after the bottom of the hour break, I'll get into some new things that I haven't covered yet. Don't let anyone tell you that Donald Trump is retreating from Minnesota, because the exact opposite is the case. Yesterday, a phone call happened between Tim Walz and Trump. We don't even really know who initiated the call. Now, Trump doesn't call anybody, but how that call happened, I don't. Somebody reached out to Tim Walz and said, hey, call the White House. Or the president had someone call him and then put the call through. But we don't know how the call happened, and we really don't know the content of the call that President Trump had with Tim Walz. But over the weekend, Tim Walz was in open rebellion against the federal government of the United States. He had a brief phone call with President Trump, and he did a 180 like that. Boom. Instantaneous 180. Now, Tim Walz is working with 100% Donald Trump and the border czar, Tom Homan, who's taken charge of the deportation efforts in Minnesota. Last night, when the sun went down, Tim Walz had the state troopers put on riot gear and go and run the protesters off. Now, there's a lot of protesters there, so they may not have completed the task, but they did it. And not only did they do it, it was brutal. If you saw any of the footage, I mean, they went out there. The state police last night, they went out there pretty hardcore against the protesters. Tim Walz hear that? I can't play more of it because of the language, but that was Tim Walz state police. You are now under arrest. They were speaking to the anti-ICE protesters in the street of Minneapolis, and then he sent them out like an army, and they started rounding up the protesters. And they were in hardcore riot gear, and they were wearing helmets and face masks covering up their faces. You couldn't even see their eyes in many instances with the gear they were wearing. Tim Walz did that. So Tim Walz 100% caved to President Trump on a dime. What President Trump told him in that phone call, we may never know. But it happened. And not only did he cave, he's now cooperating. The Confederate state of Minnesota is no more. Today, border czar Tom Homan, who already talked to Governor Walz, is meeting with Fry, and he's going to send him the message in Minneapolis, and you're going to find a similar thing. Pete Hegseth and Tom Homan have already communicated and coordinated. The ICE agents will be staying on a nearby military base, not in local hotels in Minneapolis moving forward. There's been a complete change of tactics. They've not withdrawn ICE agents from Minnesota. In fact, the opposite is true. ICE agents and Border Patrol agents are two different entities. Bovino is out. Border Patrol agents, at least some of them, maybe all, but at least some of them are leaving. The ICE agents are staying. And there'll probably be more. On top of the fact that now we have state police working with us against the anti-ICE protesters in Minnesota. This is an amazing thing. So, I know some conservative panicans are saying that Trump caved to Walz. Who's ever saying that is either fake MAGA or they just don't know what's going on, okay? The complete opposite is the truth. We're going to take our break for the bottom of the hour. I want to talk about the Sloman's free home security system and professional installation for free offer, which is amazing. Okay, listen to this. Your Sloman's home security system includes a touchscreen keypad, 3 door window sensors, a motion detector, notifications, and remote keypad access so you can check in anytime from anywhere. This Sloman's home security offer is a free home security system with free professional installation and 24/7 central station monitoring. You get all that for just $24.95 a month, and you've got that locked in for 5 years. That's amazing. Give them a call right now, no matter where you're located. Toll free, 833-283-5050. 833-283-5050. That's 833-283-5050. We'll be right back. All right, stand by, guys. All righty. All right. We'll be back in just over a minute. We're still in radio station break, guys, all right? So stand by just over a minute, and we'll be back. All right, we have about 35 seconds and we'll be back. Look at this headline on CNN. They are out of their freaking minds. Just lying. $15 seconds. 'Welcome back, everyone. I'm Brian Craig. You are listening to Florida's longest running Radio Show, The Steve Kane Show. On the radio since 1977, celebrating 49 years on the radio. This is where MAGA comes to talk. Welcome, everyone. Call us on hold. Hang in there. If you'd like to call in, the number's toll-free, 888-465-2631. 888-465-2631. So, I've spent the last 90 minutes or so telling you how we've had nonstop winning in Minnesota. This is amazing. President Trump just sent, he replaced Bovino with General MacArthur, the border czar, you're right, Tom Homan, and amazing things are already happening. And during the break, I go over to CNN just to see what they're saying at CNN.com. I wanted to hear how they were sharing this story because I just had shared with you before the bottom of the hour break that Tim Walz last night sent in the Minnesota State Police, and they've been arresting the anti-ICE protesters. CNN, this is the CNN headline. White House shows first signs of retreat as backlash grows over Minnesota killing. What? How is that? How can you even come to that conclusion when Tim Walz is arresting the anti-ICE protesters now for Trump after a brief call? Let me read through this story. I got to see how I want to see how CNN comes to this conclusion. I've not read the story, only the headline. So I don't know how they come to this conclusion. This is CNN. President Donald Trump on Monday showed his first signs of retreat since surging federal immigration agents in Minnesota late last year, replacing the leader of the crackdown on the ground and signaling new willingness to cooperate with the state's Democratic elected officials. That incorrect. That Tim Walz is cooperating with Trump. Trump's not to cooperate with the Democrats means cover up fraud, allow illegals to roam. That's not what happened here, okay? It's not what happened. Tim Walz is cooperating with Trump now. But the moves, which came amid an effort to contain the backlash over the fatal shooting of Alex Preddy and Trump officials' early efforts to falsely brand the ICU nurse as a domestic terrorist, didn't stop the administration from continuing to try to shift blame, sparking questions about how much would change on the ground. The first test could come Tuesday. That's today. Border Patrol Chief, this is the lead story at CNN.com right now. Border Patrol Chief Bovino and some of his agents are now expected to leave the city as soon as then. Three sources familiar with discussions told CNN. Three sources familiar, everybody knows it. It's been all over the news since yesterday. Bovino's out. There's some reporting that he's lost access to his social media. I don't know. I don't care about Bovino. Okay? I don't care. Do you guys care about Bovino? I care about Trump and deporting these illegals. That's what I care about. Right? Let me see here. Three sources familiar with told CNN. After Trump dispatched border czar Tom Homan to run the on-the-ground enforcement operations in Minneapolis, sidelining Bovino could herald a move away from the heavy-handed approach that he had encouraged. The leadership change came as a relief to some of the Department of Homeland Security who view Homan as a more experienced hand given his years in federal law enforcement. It also won praise from GOP leaders on Capitol Hill. Some White House officials, including Trump, had grown dissatisfied with the public narrative surrounding blah, 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 blah. Okay, on Monday, Trump spoke with Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, setting aside his long-running feud to push for greater coordination. President Trump said it was a very good call. We seem to be on a similar wavelength. Later in the day, he also spoke with Fry, the Minneapolis mayor, and what he called a very good conversation. Lots of progress being made. Taken together, the moves represented the first time the White House had publicly reckoned with an operation that has resulted in daily confrontations with protest. Okay, I'm not going to read anymore. They're in fantasy land. You know, they're not gaslighting their audience at CNN. They're gaslighting themselves. You know, liberals are into manifesting things. Manifesting is wishful thinking. If you say it, it will come true, like you got some genie in a bottle with some wishes when you rub the bottle. Everything they're saying there is complete opposite of what has happened. Yes, Bovino's out. Tom Homan's in charge. Kristi Noem is in D.C. I don't know if she was in Minneapolis yesterday. She's still the Secretary of Homeland Security. Tom Homan hasn't had any role in what's been going on in Minnesota during this uprising that's been going on. No, President Trump, whatever he told Tim Walz scared the living daylights out of Tim Walz. And he completely reversed in a 180 everything he said and everything he's been doing the last 3 weeks in Minnesota. So no, there's no retreat. There's a quadrupling down when you put Tom Homan in charge. And look how quick Tim Walz has caved. And we'll find out. He's meeting with Frey today. You're on the air. Oh, hold on a second. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
It's Jessica, Brian. How you doing?
All right, Jessica. What's on your mind?
Well, you know why CNN is saying that, Brian? Because Tim Walz, it's been going around, doing interviews saying that he pretty much had control of the conversation with President Trump. What Tim Walz is saying in interviews that I've seen this morning is that President Trump pretty much caved into his requests and demands, and he had pretty much control of the entire phone conversation with Trump. That's
Who says that? Who said that? Who said that?
Tim Walz.
Oh,
Tim Walz.
Tim Walz is a liar.
Yeah.
So if that is true, why did Tim Walz send his state troopers in and arrest the anti-ICE protesters last night?
I get it, but that's what he's saying, and CNN is saying that, and a lot, and all the other medias are going to be saying that. I feel that President Trump should, make remarks or do something publicly, a Truth Social, and post exactly what happened during that conversation.
Well, I think what President Trump wanted to do is President Homan's there taking charge of everything. President Trump may say something today, he may not. But you look at what's happening on the ground. The opposite is true. Nothing that CNN and Tom Homan, or Tim Walz is saying is true.
I know, but we know that what they're saying is a lie. But you know how the media works. Whatever the media says is, it goes viral, and then what you and I know that it's the truth. It overtops the truth.
I'll tell you this: and this isn't just an opinion, the video of Tim Walz's state troopers arresting the protesters in full riot gear, arresting them like an army. What are they? Don't believe our lying eyes? I mean, come on.
No, I saw that video, which is pretty cool. I mean, it's the state. Whatever the state law enforcement is doing that. But, on the opposite side, then we have CNN and Tim Walz saying that he had full control of the conversation with President Trump.
Yeah.
Like President Trump was the one that caved in. Now, I feel that, President Trump, wanted to resolve this matter, wanted to bring the National Guard or Tim Homan to, take over whatever's happening there. But I feel that he definitely needs to arrest people, especially the ones that were in the signal call. The signal call that you were speaking about yesterday, that group call in WhatsApp. Yep. There were state government individuals in that call.
Yeah.
And,
that's right.
Trump needs to go after them because what they were doing is planning an insurrection against the federal government. And I don't think he should.
Preddy, by the way, Preddy was in that signal chat as well. The guy that got shot Saturday.
Yes. And I think, I don't know who's in charge of that, Kash Patel or whoever needs to follow up on that call and arrest people that were in that group. He cannot pardon that. He cannot, because
the
American people are going to get really upset. You know why, Brian? Because the Democrat didn't have any empathy for President Trump. Mm-hmm. None.
Well, people that get their news and information from CNN don't know what's really going on. So, so I don't care what CNN reports or what Tom Homan says on CNN. The facts on the ground, what we see Tim Walz doing, show the complete opposite is the truth.
Yeah. But he needs to go after those people that were in that group, Brian.
No doubt.
You know, he has to, because Democrats play very dirty, and they didn't have any compassion for President Trump.
That's
none.
right. That's right.
They
Well, listen,
had
I got to
none.
run for our break, but I appreciate the call. All right.
Okay, bye.
Take care. If you're on hold, stand by. We'll go to the phones after the break. You know, you've heard me talk since, well, a few days before Christmas. You may have heard me that a YouTuber that I was able to meet 3 or 4 times. I was in one of their YouTube videos. Who's a big famous YouTuber. Adam the Woo died out of the blue, 51 years old, and it really hit me hard because I was a big fan of his. The times I got to meet him were very exciting. I had a really good conversation with him the last time I met him, and the cause of death we didn't know. And that one, you know, he's about my age, and it really hit me hard because I was such a he had YouTube videos out every day that I watched for over a decade, and there's no more videos, and it's hit a lot of people hard. They're going to have a memorial service for him in Orlando, and I'm going to go to it when they have it, and I'll probably I haven't done it yet, but in the next few weeks, whenever I get a chance to get away on a weekend, I'm gonna drive up to St. Cloud and visit his gravesite. They put his headstone up, and I'm gonna go visit his grave. Well, we got the cause of death is in the news this morning, and he had a heart attack in his sleep, in bed, and he had heart disease. He had buildup in his arteries from high cholesterol and other things, but he had blockages and buildup in his arteries, and that's what gave him the heart attack. And I'll tell you, he had no symptoms because he had just come back from Europe. He had spent almost a month in South Korea recently. I'd been following his videos, which were travel videos. He was on his feet walking all over creation every day, and he went to bed and never woke up. He had a heart attack. And Adam the Woo would be alive today if he went over to Life Imaging FLA for that heart scan. That simple heart scan at Life Imaging FLA would have shown the blockage, and he would have gone in and got it taken care of. Call Life Imaging FLA for your free heart scan now with a few minimum requirements valued at $699. From your cell, call pound 250 and say free heart scan. You'll be connected in seconds. They have locations in Broward, Palm Beach, and Dade. That's pound 250. Just say free heart scan, and you'll be connected in seconds. We'll be right back. All right, stand by, guys.
Your call has been forwarded.
We'll be back in 1 minute, guys.
Your call has been forwarded.
Less than a minute, we'll be back. We are back. I'm Brian. It's the Steve Kane Show, Florida's longest running radio show. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
This is Steve from Staten Island.
All right, Steve, what's on your mind?
Well, just to say that I think the fact that Schmuck from Minnesota finally caved in is mainly because, if I know correctly, when some states get, from snowstorms to flooding and all that, they come to the president for no help. And I would think that President Trump is saying, well, Minnesota, you're not going to get the help you want unless you do something for me.
Yeah.
I think that's what they twisted the arm of.
Well, Tim Walz,
that senator or whatever.
Yeah, Tim Walz, the governor. Well, he has all those crimes, from the Somali pirates of Minneapolis. Could have been something with that.
Right.
I mean, he's got could have been, but he did a total 180.
Yeah, you think he also may have new evidence against Walz for that Samoan $1 billion missing here and $1 billion missing there.
That's over 19 billion.
I think he's exactly. So you figure he's in deep doo-doo, as we could say.
Mm-hmm.
If this was released permanently and he got the proof, and his career as a politician is over.
Well, if you remember, they made him drop out of the governor. He was running for re-election, and they made him. The Democrats made him drop out of the race, and then look what's happened. Now that he's caved to Trump, the Democrats are done with him. I mean, they're done. I mean, he's caved to Trump on the deportations. They're never going to forget that. He's a collaborator now.
Yeah, that's true. I just want to know why these people here illegally. Do they know what the word illegal means? I mean, there also some of them are criminals, and not all, I'll say, but some have got bad, let's just say, police records.
Yeah.
And you, I don't know, tell the people of Minnesota, you really want these people next to you, living next to you?
Yeah, the murderers and rapists.
Killers and stuff?
Yeah, and rapists.
Right. Right, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks for talking.
How's the weather up there? What's the weather like up there? I've been seeing all the snow.
Well, so much snow, but we're freezing like dingleberries off.
That sucks. It's gonna be in the 80s today here at my house in Florida. In the 80s.
Oh, that's very good. Oh, that's something to be looking forward to here in New York.
It's paradise.
Come spring.
Florida is paradise. All right. Okay. Hey, listen, I appreciate the call.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
All right. Take care. Yeah, we may never know. We may never know what happened. Oh, listen to this. This liberal, Jake Tapper. Even Jake Tapper, this guy was too far for Jake Tapper. This is one of the anti-ICE protesters in Minnesota, was on CNN with Jake Tapper. Listen to what he said. Yet. Oh, even Jake Tapper, he's like, that's too far for even me. And this anti-ICE protester, if you saw him on CNN, he's sitting in, it looks like an elementary school library, and he's wearing a pink hat like those women wear when they go to those women's protest in Washington. I mean, what's happened to men? I got to tell you, I have noticed people that are, when I see married couples that are like in their 20s these days, there's a total role reversal going on. The women are in the male position. I see this in a lot of commercials and stuff too. Like I'll see a commercial where they have the husband and wife, they're in a commercial and they have to put something together. And in the new commercials, it's the wives that are putting it together, not the man, not the husband, right? It's really bizarre. You know, it's bizarre. You know, my wife's getting some new furniture for the house, right? And she got this new chair for our living room. I put it together. Now, I had my wife help me, you know, hold some of the pieces so I could screw them in a little easier and everything. But I put it together. I put it together. You know, now the women put things together. And I look at this guy on CNN with Jake Tapper. Oh, my goodness. You know, it is slim pickings for women out there to find men. That when you're talking about, you know, people in their 20s or 30s, when they're in that marriage head, I don't know what women are doing. Maybe that's why there's so many gay women today, because the women are more manly than the guys out there. This guy with Jake Tapper and these protesters, they're very strange people. All right, so Steve Kane, by the way, will be joining us at the 8 o'clock hour today. And after the top of the hour, I'll recap with Steve the great victory. But it wasn't just a victory in Minnesota. There was a complete surrender by the Prime Minister of Canada, Carney, to the United States yesterday, in that Canada 100% called off that China deal because of pressure from President Trump. And it was two massive wins on the same day for President Trump. Canada surrendered and Minnesota surrendered, both to Trump. It's amazing. You know, this winning that we're experiencing is just something that I don't think we've ever experienced, not even with Ronald Reagan. And then yesterday, there was a press event, and this is the Secretary General of NATO, who's a big Trump fan, helped with the Greenland deal. Listen to this. This was yesterday. That's right. Yeah, good luck. That's the second. Good luck, Europe, on your own. See, this is what's happened is really amazing, because what the Hate America First crowd of the American left, the Democrats, have been promoting is that all these different countries and organizations around the world are equal to us. When the Soviet Union collapsed, we were the lone superpower, right? By the way, the United States is still the lone superpower, but that's not what the left have been promoting. The left have been promoting that the EU was equal to the United States. They're not in any way, shape, or form, militarily, economically. They've been trying to tell us that China was the other superpower, equal to us militarily, maybe even stronger. That's obviously not true. The Maduro raid showed the world that. And when the Secretary General of NATO, whose name I can never remember, what he told the Europeans yesterday, this was hilarious. I mean, he told them, you know, you guys are all butch. You think you can be on your own? You think you can protect yourself from Russia? Good luck. You need the United States. You cannot do it without the United States. Your country would go bankrupt if it were not for the United States. So good luck. Good luck. Meaning it's impossible. If you do it, you're done, Europe. Absolutely. I mean, look, without a dollar or any military action, President Trump just took Greenland, got everything he wanted for nothing. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Robbie from Missouri. Hey, yeah, the news was pretty crazy.
Yeah, it sure is. I want to talk about Jupiter Joe Thomas. You know, I hear from listeners all the time about Jupiter Joe and other sponsors of the program. And with Jupiter Joe, what I hear is, you know, I was talking about the polls and the trend. There's a trend with listeners to the program, no matter their income bracket. You know, we have listeners that are hardworking, blue-collar people. We have listeners that are rich, okay, and everything in between. And when I talk to listeners, no matter what it is, whether they're retired on a fixed income, whether they're a multimillionaire, whether they have a small pension from a government job, I hear the same thing from each and every one of them about Jupiter Joe Thomas, because I ask them, so I can share with you what they tell me. And they all tell me they love that income stream, that guaranteed money that they get each and every month from their annuity. Their nest egg is never at risk, no matter what happens in the financial markets. And they've got that check coming every single month, right on time. Joe Thomas calls it mailbox money, or you're giving yourself a pension. And no matter what someone's income bracket is, that monthly check is amazing to them, makes their life easier, comfortable, and allows them to do the things that they want to do and not worry about money and still living the life they want to live while they are retired. Call Jupiter Joe Thomas. Take advantage of this no-charge consultation, no matter where you're located. Talk to him about annuities. Joe put together a custom proposal just for you based on your situation. Here's his number, 561-743-0999. 561-743-0999. If you missed the number, just go to his website. It's easy to remember, jupiterjoe.com. That's jupiterjoe.com. All right, one more hour to go. It's the Steve Kane Show. Steve will be joining us after the top of the hour. I'm Brian Craig. Our number, 888-465-2631. Back after this.
There you go. Good morning.
Hey.
Good morning to you.
Hey, we got just over a minute.
Okay.
I'll do a recap of what happened, and then we'll take some calls, because a lot's happened.
Well, okay.
Unless you had somewhere you wanted to go.
No, we'll start with that.
Okay.
I don't know where you're coming from on the news, but we'll get to that.
I'll tell you what happened when we get back. Lots happened.
Sounds good.
Okay. Less than a minute. All right, the 8 o'clock hour has begun. I'm Brian. You're listening to Florida's longest running radio show, The Steve Kane Show, on the radio since 1977. Steve Kane joining us. Hey, Steve.
Good morning.
Oh, this is a great day.
It's great. Well, I don't know what's so great about it. I guess they've staunched the flow of blood. I guess that's probably good.
What do you mean you don't know what's great about it? Are you not, what are you watching, CNN again?
I've been watching, mostly Fox, and pretty much everybody on Fox. I've been
got my nose pressed to the TV set for 3 days straight here. And I mean, I will admit that we seem to have staunched the flow of blood, but it was not a good weekend for us. And how you can watch what I watched and
well, the weekend's
about
over, and on Monday, President Trump settled the whole situation in Minnesota. It's all settled.
Okay, all right, okay. Now
And today's Tuesday, so the week. You're right. The weekend was, there was a lot of trouble over the weekend, and Monday, President Trump settled everything, and it's a perfect situation in Minnesota today.
It's my favorite phrase. It's a work in progress, and he seems to have stemmed the bleeding for now.
No, that's not even
the beginning. It's up in the air. You don't know. There's been no resolution.
Yeah, there has.
So far, you don't know.
Okay, let me walk you through what's happened.
Go ahead.
Okay, and for those that are just tuning in, I'm going to walk you all through what happened too. All right. So you're right. It was bad times over the weekend. President Trump had a phone conversation with the scumbucket governor of Minnesota, Tim Walz. And Tim Walz had he was in open rebellion against the federal government for the last 2 or 3 weeks and had all but declared Minnesota an independent nation, right? I mean, it was the Confederate state of Minnesota. After that phone call...
I'll give you it wasn't as bad yesterday as the day before. The weekend was the worst. So we'll agree on that. So let's put that aside. Start at that point.
Okay. So President Trump had the phone conversation with Tim Walz yesterday.
Right.
And with that lunatic mayor, Fry of Minneapolis. Tim Walz did a complete 180. A complete 180 and is now working with President Trump. I don't know what...
Where do you hear that? Where do you see that?
It's not where I hear it. It's where I see it. Last night, now I don't know if this has been on television, okay? I've shown it on YouTube and I saw it on social media this morning. Last night, something happened in Minnesota that I would not have imagined happening with Tim Walz as governor. Last night, after the sun went down, Tim Walz, under his order, had the Minnesota state troopers run in and start arresting the anti-ICE protesters in the middle of the night last night. Arrest them. And they went in by, I don't know how many troopers there were, but all I could see were troopers. They were wearing riot gear, face masks, helmets, the whole works. Under Tim Walz's direction, the Minnesota State Police went in and busted up and arrested a bunch of the anti-ICE protesters. And that was just phase one of the operation. Tim Walz with his police, his state police, are arresting and running the anti-ICE protesters out of the state of Minnesota. That's huge. The ones that have been going around blowing their whistles and honking their horns and getting shot and stuff, he's arresting them yesterday.
I didn't perceive it the same way, I guess. I don't know.
Well, this footage...
I watched Fox all the last night.
And they didn't show this?
No.
It may have happened after you went to bed.
They talked about the fact that Walz had met with the bad guys, and that they agreed to basically what amounted to a ceasefire.
No, he was arresting them last night. It was happening last night and in the middle of the night.
In the middle of the night? Well, I was sleeping in the middle of the night,
yeah.
But I didn't see anybody.
Well, it's true. You'll see it today.
The man's in jail?
Yeah.
Wait, so who's in jail?
They protesters, the anti-ICE protesters. They were arresting them all night long.
The leaders in jail?
We haven't gotten...
The leaders are Walz and...
No, Walz is the one who ordered the arrest. Walz had the state police start arresting the protesters last night en masse.
And this was after midnight?
I don't know the time when it started, but I've seen the video and it was pretty rough. They went in like an invading army, Tim Walz's state police, arresting these liberal anti-ICE protesters. It was beautiful. I've watched the video like 10 times.
That's as far as we need to go for purposes of discussion, because I didn't see anyone get arrested, and they agreed to be nice for the moment, but it was what I would term
Well, just because you didn't see it, you'll have to take my word for it, which I would think would be worth something to you.
No, we don't have, not always. We disagree many times, but I'm just asking the audience to call in. I get a couple of calls that tell me there were mass arrests last night.
Yeah, there were. There were mass arrests. And I've been,
if anybody out there can verify that for my peace of mind.
Yeah, Steve doesn't want to take my word for it. Steve doesn't want to take my word for it. But Steve, it was the state police in riot gear, and they were not playing around. It was like in the 60s, but in high definition color. They had
how many people ballpark? How many people
we don't know
were
yet.
arrested?
We don't know yet, but a lot. And they came in with the batons and everything, and they were using them. And
it must have been after midnight because
I don't know.
I didn't see any of that.
I don't know what time it was, but I woke up early this morning and I started seeing the video online, and it's amazing. They've done mass arrest, and these snowflakes. The rest of them are going to. They're now that they're being arrested by their own people, Tim Walz. Many of them are going to leave on their own, but there will be more arrests. It's done. And Tom Homan's already taken charge, and has already made big moves. So that everything is going. I'm going to put you on hold for just for a minute, Steve. Everything is going perfectly with Tom Homan in charge. Now, it is true that Bovino's been removed, but they have not evacuated the ICE agents from Minnesota. That's another lie. That's not true. Not one ICE agent has been removed from Minnesota. Did I lose you, Steve?
No, I think I'm still with you.
Okay, you're still here. You just seem in shock. Not one ICE agent has been removed from Minnesota. Not a single one.
All right, I just want to hear.
Okay, I will go to the calls. I'll put you on hold for a second. Our phones are ringing off the hook. I will. And by the way, notice I have not taken any personal offense that you won't take my word for it, which I don't understand why you won't. But
you're growing up.
Before we go to the phones, I want to talk about Coastal Weight Loss Secret. Oh man, people just love to tell me about how much weight they've lost with Coastal Weight Loss Secret. I've been getting calls from listeners regularly on the program telling me how much weight they lost. A nice lady called me at the end of Friday's show, and she was talking about how she lost her stomach. She couldn't lose the weight in her stomach, and her stomach is flat now. It's a Coastal Weight Loss Secret works, and sometimes people will say, well, Brian, are you still taking those shots or pills? There are no shots or pills. That's one of the great things about it. I saw Kelly Osbourne on TV yesterday. She was talking about her dad, Ozzy, and she's always been kind of heavy. She's on one of those, I don't know, she's got that Ozempic face. And it's not, you don't want to look like Kelly Osbourne. You want to look like me. You want to look like yourself. I lost over 35 pounds. I got my neck back. I got my jawline back. I weigh what I weighed 29 years ago when my wife and I got married, and my stomach is flat, flat, flat. And I did this without exercise, without shots, without pills, without starving myself and eating foods I would normally eat. Call Coastal Weight Loss Secret no matter where you're located and start losing weight. Now, I lost over 35 pounds, but if you want to lose over 350 pounds or anywhere in between, you can do it. 561-247-6300. 561-247-6300. And online, coastalweightlossecret.com. All right, I'm going to go to the call, Steve, okay?
Okay.
All right. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, what's up? My name's Anthony. I'm from California.
Yes, Anthony.
How are you coping this fucking bad?
There we go. All right. First one of the day. Almost 2.5 hours in, and the first one of the day. See what I mean, Steve? The left are freaking out. They're just totally freaking out. They can't handle the truth. All right, well, while we wait for the delay to rebuild, you guys on hold, hang on. We're coming up on a break anyway, and we're going to check in with Attorney Barry Siegel. If you're on hold, don't go anywhere. If you'd like to call in, there's one opening where California was with his salty language. The number is toll-free, 888-465-2631. 888-465-2631. And I'd like somebody to explain how Tim Walz has not done a 180 and caved to Trump when he sent his own state police to arresting protesters throughout the night last night. Explain to me how that's not Walz caving to Donald Trump. I'd love to hear it.
Well, I didn't hear that. I didn't hear you say that.
Yeah, he totally caved to Trump. Tim Walz caved to Trump, did a total 180 and caved to Trump, surrendered to Trump, just like Carney in Canada did yesterday to Trump. All right, I'm going to put you and everyone on hold. We'll be right back. These callers with their language, my goodness. All right. Hey Barry, it's Brian.
Hey Brian.
Hey there. We have just under a minute, so give me 1 second.
Okay.
I'm going to conference Steve in. Are you there, Barry? Oh, Barry, do I have you? Barry?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, stand by. 30 seconds. I had a question I wanted to ask you for our new, when we get back, unless you had somewhere you definitely wanted to go.
You're talking to me?
Yes,
Brian?
yes. All right, we got 5 seconds. It's too late now, so
Okay.
let's do it. All right, we're back. I'm Brian. It's time to check in with Attorney Barry Siegel from the Siegel Law Group. Attorney Barry Siegel, good morning.
Brian, good morning. How are you?
Good. Yeah, I wanted to ask you a question.
Sure.
For our new listeners, because we talk to you several times each week. We've done this for many, many years. Could you tell people in a capsulized form what a revocable living trust is, which is what you do, and why they want to call you and have a revocable living trust, as just opposed to some will?
Yeah, there are really two ways of setting things up where you're leaving your asset what you want. One is a will and one is a trust, what you call it's a revocable trust. And it also has living benefits. The key differences are that when you have a trust, it's an entity that holds your assets.
Barry, we've got a really bad cell connection with you this morning. I had a perfect connection with you, and I just lost you. Okay, I don't know if you've moved, but we had a really good connection, and then it just faded on us. Do we got you back?
Do you hear me?
I can hear you perfectly now. Yeah. So
Okay.
you're talking what is a revocable living trust, and why someone should call you and have a revocable living trust as opposed to just some will.
Okay, yeah, and I don't know how much you were able to hear before, but
not much.
Okay, not much. Okay, so they're both legal documents that say who gets your stuff when you die and who's in charge of the process. The difference is a trust is an entity that holds your assets. It's revocable. You could change it at any time. And you, the person who created it, either you or you and your spouse, are in charge of those assets. So you have full access, full control. But it has benefits beyond what a will does, because number one, when you have your assets in a trust, it avoids probate. Probate is the court process that we all want to avoid because it's very expensive, very time consuming, it's public, and we don't have full control. The other thing is, with a trust, it has living benefits. So if you should lose your mental capacity, the trustee that you name, your successor trustee, can step right into your shoes and take care of things, thus avoiding having to go to court and having to spend a whole bunch of money on legal fees and court costs and having a judge choose a guardian for you that may or may not be who you would have wanted. So the trust gives you control over who will control the assets for you
God forbid you become mentally incapacitated. Those are just some of the things. And then, of course, with the trust, we can also set up that bloodline protection so that the inheritance that you leave to your loved ones can be protected from their future potential divorces, lawsuits, creditors, all kinds of things. So the revocable living trust for many people, especially if you own real estate or if you have any kind of assets at all, it really just depends on what your goals are. If your goals are to avoid probate and avoid guardianship, then most likely you're going to want to have a revocable living trust. But obviously, when at the Siegel Law Group, we sit down with our clients and we go through their goals, through their family situation, their estate, and we have the conversation. We'll make recommendations and then make sure that. And one of the things that we do too is make sure that when people do set up their estate plan, that they have a process where we can make sure it's up to date and follow through so that it's going to work when they need it to work, because things always change.
That's right. And Attorney Barry Siegel has been with us for many, many years on this program, and I have met countless more listeners than I can remember who are clients of the Siegel Law Group. And I often tell this to Barry, the clients, most of them, they have one thing in common that I noticed, a trend. They feel a sense of relief that they've got that revocable living trust and their heirs, their children, their grandchildren are taken care of. Well, listen, call the Siegel Law Group. If you mention you heard Attorney Barry Siegel on the radio, you can take advantage of that no-charge in-office consultation. The number is 855-FLA-3782. 855-FLA-3782. And online, SiegelLawGroup.com. All right, Attorney Barry Siegel, we'll talk later in the week.
All right, sounds great. Thank you.
Take care. All right, I've gotten some of the lines mixed up, and I'm not sure where Steve is. All right, are you back with us?
I don't know.
I got you, Steve. Yes. Good. I didn't lose you. We're back. I was just talking to Barry Siegel. I couldn't conference you with him, but just was talking to Barry Siegel. Okay, so we're back. All right, so I was telling you in the first segment of the hour how Tim Walz did a complete 180, surrendered to Trump, and is now working with Tom Homan.
They arrested all those thugs that have been demonstrating in front of.
They began arresting them last night in front of. I think it looked like it was in front of one of the hotels where ICE agents had been staying. So Tom Homan has a new partner in the deportations, and his name is Tim Walz. Tim Walz is working with Tom Homan, the border czar, on the protest. So, all right, but you don't believe me, so you want to take some calls?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, let's go. All right. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, good morning. It's Trisha, the bus driver.
Oh, this is our bus driver in Minneapolis. Welcome, Trisha, the bus driver from Minneapolis.
Hey, good morning, Steve and Brian.
Good morning.
Good. What a great thing to wake up to is to see this video Brian's got here about that's the Minnesota State Patrol there doing that.
Yeah, and they're doing they're like an army arresting these anti-ICE liberals.
So there's no people that are all arrested. There's no more demonstration.
Well, they haven't made arrest all of them, but they've begun the arrest.
Yeah, and I'm going to drive through. I'm going to get myself a big, beautiful celebration coffee after this. And the thing is, I think the Minneapolis police are forced to be way more, they're more political or whatever. One of the routes I drove, I turn around at MnDOT and Minnesota State Patrol parking lot and wait my bus right there, and I see like hundreds of State Patrol vehicles. And then that's in Golden Valley, and then you turn around and come back into Minneapolis, and I'll bet right now that parking lot is empty. And the State Patrol, those troopers, they're not like as political. They serve all the counties everywhere, and most of Minnesota is red.
Yeah.
And those guys are probably like, thank God they're unleashed.
Yeah.
I am so happy to see that. That's great.
Yeah, I don't know what Trump told Tim Walz, but it scared him to death.
I'm sure it has something to do with his future in jail.
Yeah, Trump's thing was that, listen, you need to give us the list of people, and you need to hold these criminals and let us get these people so that, we can get in, get our job done, and get out, and it's safe. And Tim Walz folded, agreed, and knew, because he knows that Trump will have to do the Insurrection Act, which I was sitting back here I thought, if this doesn't end, and, you know, you saw that guy, he got his finger clear bit off, all right?
I saw that.
A protester bit off his finger downtown at St. Paul at that one hotel.
Mm-hmm.
One guy, he's got a shovel and he's hitting the banner and they're totally vandalizing it. And the one officer holding the line, the ICE guy or whatever he was, a federal agent, they're riot officers for prison riots.
Yeah.
And they're standing there and he's going, I got a question for the press. Where's the local police? Where's the local police? And he's screaming and he keeps turning around and spitting out blood. His hands are bloody. That's not the guy that got his finger bit off, but another guy got his finger bit off. And the local 2 police cars were seen turning around and leaving. And, then somebody gave the excuse. They're like, well, their training tells them if it looks totally out of control and dangerous, there's only 2 of you, don't go in until you have backup, which you could still go rolling up on them with your sirens and stuff.
Well, after these arrests by the state police in Minnesota, which, by the way, is not the end of it. Today, Border Czar Tom Homan is meeting with that weirdo lunatic mayor of Minneapolis, Fry.
Oh, my God.
And it's probably been a long time, maybe the first time that Mayor Fry has ever sat down and had a meeting with a real man. And I can't wait to see how that turns out.
Do you know if that's going to be televised?
No, they won't televise the meeting. They may have a photo op.
Last night when I was coming home, along the lake, I live a half a block off Lake Nokomis, which is only about a mile or 2 away from the airport.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden I'm going, what are all these cars doing here? There's cars that are literally all lined up and parking on the parkway all along the south side of the lake, and then on Shoreview Avenue all along that, and at the end of my mom's block, I'm literally half a block off the lake.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, you know what? I could tell by the people and stuff, I go, these people are parking here and going, getting a bus or an Uber or something and going down to the airport because they won't, to cause trouble. To be down there, whatever, because Tom Homan was flying into town.
Oh, Tom Homan was flying in, and he has security.
Yeah, so maybe the state police cleanup too is because Tom the Hammer is coming in.
And Tom Homan's already coordinated with Pete Hegseth. The ICE officers are going to be staying on a local military base instead of the hotels in the city where the protesters have been showing up. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that local military base is by our airport too. All that is right there. And then, did you see the video of Obama putting that Medal of Honor, Medal of Freedom or whatever? It's the big purple, the medal they put on people.
Yes.
On to Tom Homan in 2012.
Yeah, Obama loved Tom Homan, gave him the Medal of Freedom. Yeah.
That's right. See, so I'm happy. This is a good day. Thank you for covering it.
All right, take care. Appreciate the call.
All right.
Yeah. All right, we got time for another call or two before the break. Let's go. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Brian from Deerfield.
Hey, Brian.
Hi, Brian. Hi, Steve. I think it was very simple. What he did is, I think the president got on the phone with Walz and told him, either you start making arrests or I'm going to make an arrest. And I'm sending my buddy Tom Homan there at 9 o'clock in the morning to put the cuffs on you and your buddy, the mayor, and it's going to be on national television, and we're going to perk walk you right out of the state capitol.
That's possible.
I think Walz has a deadly fear of going to jail. Something tells me about this guy is really afraid of going to prison.
I think has good reason to have that fear.
Yeah.
Well, that and the fear of Tom Homan. Now, I want to see him start resisting the arrest and starting to mouth off. It's a different guy coming to do this arrest. And I think he just basically told him, I will have Tom Homan there to greet you first thing in the morning. He's going to put the cuffs on you. We're going to have the camera crews there, and then we're going to see how you like it. And we pick up the mayor on the way down.
Yeah.
And just get in their face. These guys, it's outrageous how they've been running Minnesota.
I bet you Mayor Frey is terrified to meet in person Tom Homan.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh,
absolutely. I mean,
I bet he didn't. I bet he hasn't slept all night. I bet he has not slept at all. I'd be terrified if I were him.
Yes. This guy is like
it's a soy boy meeting General MacArthur.
Yes, in person.
In person.
Exactly. Especially when it shows that he's got the governor in the backseat of his car and he's picking him up now to go with him.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly.
I mean, this what's been going on in Minnesota is an outrage. It's what the outrage is the money that's been stolen out of Minnesota, and I think these two guys are connected with it too. I think this is coordinated. But today, when Tom Homan shows up in person, look at yes, and I think the numbers are still
President Trump may have gone
bigger.
over. President Trump might have shared with Tim Walz some of the evidence that's been collected on the financial fraud.
I have a feeling that was my guess of what they showed.
Yeah.
him.
Yes,
yeah.
I think
that's
you
what
showed
I was
him.
thinking too.
Yeah.
I think he showed him an interesting piece of the final paperwork
Yes.
and said to him, I think you're going to need friends in the future. This is not a time to alienate anybody.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Well, can you imagine how weak is this guy? He does a 360 overnight on one phone call from President Trump. I mean, the guy just you know. I mean, this guy's a spineless.
Listen. He made this is right out of The Godfather.
Smart thing he did.
This is right out of The Godfather. He made him an offer he couldn't refuse.
Yeah.
Right. I mean,
and that out too.
Well, and then look at
guys,
Canada. Canada called off they canceled that whole China deal yesterday. The whole thing.
Yes.
Canada surrendered
Wasn't that
too.
guy? Yeah. You remember that guy who was just in the White House about a month ago? And we're just ready to Sarah's on you. There's the power of those terrorists, the power of it.
Carney was over there in Davos running his mouth like he was the big man on campus. And now, boom, he caved yesterday to President Trump.
Yeah. I mean, these guys don't even last a 24-hour news cycle, and they already cave.
No.
They already cave.
Not
you know?
at all.
And thank God we have a president of the White House who's strong, and a guy in the head with Tom Homan who's going to make a personal visit to him.
That's right.
And
hey,
the
listen,
mayor.
We got to run, but I appreciate the call.
Okay, guys.
All
Have a
right.
great-
You know, I was talking earlier that there's a YouTuber I'm a big fan of that died a couple days before Christmas, Adam the Woo, and the coroner up in Orlando just released the autopsy results. We got in the news he had died. He had a heart attack in his sleep. And he had massive blockage with no symptoms. He had massive blockage in his arteries, and he had a heart attack. You know, Adam the Woo would be alive today if he'd have gone over to Life Imaging FLA and had that heart scan. I got a call from a listener on the show on Friday. He went over for the heart scan, and he took my advice and asked them about the cancer screening. So they did the cancer screening, and this guy, one of our listeners, found that he had a tumor. With no symptoms, he had no idea. I mean, Life Imaging FLA, it's all about preventative health, you know? And, you know, Adam the Woo, he had no symptoms. This guy, he was a travel vlogger, and he traveled all over the world and all over America every day. He had no symptoms, and he died of a heart attack. If he would have gone to Life Imaging FLA and had that heart scan, he would have known. Our listener, he would have found out he had a tumor at some point, but luckily he found out he has a tumor now when it's early enough to have treatment done before things turn worse. Life Imaging FLA have locations in Broward, Palm Beach, and Dade. Call Life Imaging FLA for your free heart scan now with a few minimum requirements, valued at $699. And when you're there, make sure you ask about the cancer screening. I've had them both. It takes just a few minutes. From your cell, call pound 250 and say free heart scan. You'll be connected in seconds. That's pound 250. Just say free heart scan and you'll be connected in seconds. We'll be right back. All right, Steve, I'm going to put you on hold, okay? Hold on.
Okay.
Hold on. Okay. All right, we'll be back in about a minute. We're still in radio break. If you're new, make sure you subscribe. And if you'd like to call in, please do. The number is 888-465-2631. All right, Steve, are you there?
Yeah.
All right, we got less than a minute. 50 seconds.
Give William a little extra.
I'm really tight on time, but I will. I did yesterday, too. Hold on. Oh, my goodness. All right. Oh, boy, oh, boy.
An amazing time.
Oh, all right, stand by. 10 seconds. All right, we're back. Steve Kane's here. I'm Brian. If you're on hold, stand by. If you'd like to call in, please do 1-888-465-2631. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Yeah, this is Richie. Good morning, Steve.
Hey, Rich.
I have been following this 150%. So, I mean, from the time I get up in the morning, after your show, till I go to sleep. So I know exactly what's going on. I don't know the demographics of the Minnesota bus driver, but I'm gonna say this to you. I'm gonna separate fact from fiction. The state police in Minnesota, okay, protected ICE at the federal building. They were the only ones protecting ICE. They set up barricades and everything else. The demonstration.
Wait a minute. Hold on. At what point? Give me a time breakdown with what you're saying. What point was this that you're saying?
They've been protecting the federal building for about 10 days. They've been out there. They put barricades up and everything else. What happened was on Saturday, everything switched to the downtown area, which is controlled by the police department and that crazy mayor. They still have a stand-down order. That's why Holman is going there today to talk to the mayor. What happened the night before? That hotel was in the police district, not the state police. The mayor's, the downtown Minnesota police, who has a stand-down order. So there were no cops and they trashed the hotel. Now, last night, they moved and they thought, and I watched it, it started about 9 o'clock at night. They thought that the head of the Border Patrol, who was leaving, was staying at that hotel with his border police. And that was outside the city district of Minnesota. That was the state police. Okay, so now you're with me so far? The state police had riot gear on and about 200 state officers in riot gear and gas masks and everything else.
Yep.
The protesters were going crazy there. There was about maybe 300 of them banging, cursing, drumming and whistleblowing, trying to cause chaos so nobody could sleep in the hotel. There was an announcement was made.
You're under arrest
if this doesn't break up.
You're under arrest.
You'll be arrested if this doesn't break up in 10 minutes. What happened was they arrested maybe 5 or 10 people. They dispersed the crowd, and it was over by 11:30. The crowd dispersed under the threat of arrest. They encircled them.
And the video,
that was the state police.
That's what I've been saying all morning, Richie. And what's been going on since that has happened, that video has been going viral online, and these protesters are starting to leave on their own. I promise you, they're going to start clearing out because they're not going to have a free ride anymore.
They have a free ride as of now in the city of Minneapolis, unless that mayor changes his mind with Holman.
Not going to happen.
It's going to depend on the meeting with Holman today.
You think Holman's going to let this soy boy with all the hair products tell him what to do and what's up? Are you kidding?
No, because I think the agreement's already been made that they're gonna start helping out ICE. I believe even inside the city with the Minnesota police. So I think the mayor's going to cave. The governor's already caved. No question
Total
about
cave.
it. But the governor did not give the order to the state police last night to go and riot gear.
Oh
they
my
did
gosh,
that on
Richard.
their own.
No, they didn't do anything on their own. Listen, it may not be some official order. Listen, Governor Walz is in a pickle right now, right? What he is, the position that he is in from a Democrat perspective is of that of a collaborator. Okay, so excuse me. While there may not be like an official signature on an order, that signal chat that came out yesterday showed that a lot of Democrat officials, including people that work directly for Tim Walz, were involved in that signal chat, as was the guy that got shot on Saturday in that signal chat.
I agree with you.
And Tim Walz can give the order without giving the order.
Let me say this to you about Tim Walz's order with the state police. Here's where we're going to a little bit disagree. If you're a police officer, you do not want to see your fellow brother go down the way they've neglected them in the city of Minneapolis. It's a disgrace what the mayor and that police department has done. The state police have always been behind ice. I'm telling you right now, they couldn't wait for the chance to put that riot gear on and start arresting people because they don't want to. They work with ICE
the phone
all
call
the time.
and the phone call happens, and then the next thing you know, the riot gear's on. They had the gas masks on. They got the batons. I saw those state police.
Oh, they were. There was about 200.
Yeah,
it was Springfield Marriott.
When those state police came out, they were so excited to be running out there with those batons. I've never seen guys so excited.
Brian, it was a Springfield by Marriott that was set up and across the street from a giant
I got
strip
it.
mall.
Hey, Richie, I'm going to move on, but I appreciate the call. You know, so Tim Walz as a Democrat is forever done now because he's collaborating with Donald Trump. Oh, I want to talk about Dr. Philip Appleton and his laser away pain treatment. Dr. Appleton has rid me of pain 7 times. Sometimes from injuries, falling off my skateboard, which I no longer do, and all of that. He has rid me of pain 7 times. Sometimes from accidents like falling off the skateboard. The first pain he relieved me of was knee pain that I'd suffered from about 30 years from a car accident. I had arthritis in my hand. Dr. Appleton treated me for my arthritis, gone with his laser away pain treatment. If you're sick and tired of feeling pain, which is rough, I'm here to tell you. I remember what it was like. And that pain is stopping you from living your life. Maybe you can't go to work, or you're just not enjoying your life. Maybe you can't play golf because you're in pain. Don't be in pain. Call my buddy, Dr. Philip Appleton. The consultation is free. Sit down and let him share with you what his laser away pain treatment can do for you and get your life back. By the way, without any pills, no side effects, no shots, no injections. I know shots and injections are the same, but I want to emphasize it. No downtime, no surgery. You don't even feel it when it's happening. And here's the best part. It works. It works. Call Dr. Appleton, 954-973-0710. By the way, if you have x-rays or scans, bring them with you. Dr. Appleton will gladly look them over. 954-973-0710. That's 954-973-0710. And online, AppletonCairo.com. All right, now, after the Gold Report, we'll go back to the phones. But make no mistake about it, Tim Walz caved, Steve. He did a complete 180. And I don't know any man who could stand up to Tom Homan, especially not this girly man, metrosexual Mayor Fry of Minneapolis, who has more hair products in his hair than any woman I've ever known. I'll tell you that.
Donald Trump?
Donald Trump has taken control of Minnesota, just like he did Venezuela. By the way, did you see Venezuela's been releasing all their political prisoners now, courtesy of Donald Trump. All right, we'll take our last break of the morning, come back with the Gold Report after this. All right, I'm going to put you on hold, Steve, while I get William Young.
Okay.
Hello.
Hey there. Okay, we have less than a minute, so this is just stand by for a second. Hold on. All right, Steve, you there?
Yep.
Okay, we have 45 seconds, William. Stand by. Okay, then I'm going to fit that in. All right, it's time to check in with William Youngerman from the offices of William Youngerman Incorporated in Boca with the Morning Gold and Precious Metals Report. William Youngerman, how are the metals looking today?
The metals are looking up right now after yesterday's reversal, and some of them are somewhat of a reversal after hitting new record highs yesterday. Gold yesterday trading in a range of $4,982 on the low, all the way up to $5,111 an ounce. That was up dramatically before it pulled back on a lot of selling taking place, profit taking, and left gold at $5,009.30 on the still $26.20 and well over $. Silver got up to $118, Brian, with a pullback on that, closing out the day at $103.78, but that was still up 70 cents. Platinum got up to $2,933 before reversing, turning around, and going down $198 on the day to close at $2,578 the ounce. Silver or palladium got up to $2,188 before reversing and closing down $52 at $1,943. Overnight, we saw gold trade in a range of $5,010 all the way up to $5,101. Right now, we're up $63.80 at $5,075.10 the ounce. Silver is up $7.75 at $111.50 the ounce. Platinum is up $80 at $26.58, and palladium is up $32 at $1,975. So what does yesterday mean? It means that there's markets that can be shaken, and that's to get the weak hands out of the metal so that they can shake it loose by seeing it go up like that and then driving it down. They can scare a lot of people out of the markets, and that's exactly what they did. But we'll see how long that lasts. That tactic has been going on for about a year now, and after they are through doing that, they end up making new highs on the metal. So we'll see if that continues to play out in these markets at record high levels. The other thing to watch very closely is the U.S. dollar is falling very quickly. The U.S. dollar index is now at 96.65. That is the lowest we have seen it in a long time. With the value of the dollar going down and a lot of other concerns in the socioeconomic world, we have to take consideration that possession of your precious metals is one of the most important things. Do not put your stock in these ETFs and other things at this particular time. Now, if you've listened to us for years, we've told you that for people who are traders of precious metals and not long-term investors, that the ETFs were a good way to go, because with a click of a mouse you could buy or sell. I am not recommending that anymore. There is going to be a lot of strain on those markets, and some of these things could be in serious trouble if the supply does not meet what they supposedly are holding in these ETFs. So be careful and take possession of your precious metals. Don't let anybody else store them for you or anything. Take possession.
Absolutely. I mean, these prices are just amazing. We're living in the future with the prices. Now, you don't just sell the metals; you also buy them. And I know people are. They might pass out on the floor when you tell them how much some old broken jewelry is worth these days. What are some of the things people can turn into money, or maybe put it into gold or silver coins or bars? What are some of the things you buy?
Yeah, we make a two-way market on all of the precious metals we have. By the way, many, and I mean many, of the major marketers are not making a two-way market anymore.
Really?
They are not buying a lot of the products. They have stopped buying. Many of the dealers, local dealers, and other dealers around the country are out of money. They can't get paid by the refiners. For sometimes 3 months and 2 months. And so they are at a point now where they've just stopped buying completely.
Wow.
So you'll find that we are still making a good two-way market. The spreads are larger because of the risk and because of the volatility of the markets. But William Youngerman Incorporated continues to stand behind our markets, and we continue to buy.
That's amazing. All right, listen, William Youngerman opens up at 10 a.m. He's located in the heart of Boca Raton at 150 East Palmetto Park Road in Boca on the first floor of the Bank of America building immediately east of US 1 Federal Highway on the south side of Palmetto Park Road, right down the street from Meisner Park. You can give him a call and do your transactions over the phone as well. 1-800-327-5010. That's 1-800-327-5010. And online, WilliamYoungerman.com. All right, William Youngerman, we'll talk tomorrow.
Okay, have a great day.
All right, take care. All right, a lot of great news on the metals, Steve. Holy smokes. Holy smokes. All right, so, this has just been an amazing day because, 24 hours ago, on yesterday's show, we were what's Trump going to do? We had the shooting Saturday. The protests are gaining steam in Minnesota. Where are we going to be in another week?
There's an answer to your question. There's an answer to your question.
Yep.
Where we're going to be is buying back a lot of gold and a lot of silver.
Yeah, that's true. And in Minnesota, we're going to be home free because with the one of the things that the Democrats were doing in Minnesota. Now, this whole thing in Minnesota started because of the fraud, and Tim Walz is afraid of that, but it grew into something else. And these Democrats around the country were watching to see what Trump was going to do yesterday. It was and his reaction was going to determine where the Democrats moved in the future. And by that I mean is this. They thought one of two things was going to happen. Either Trump would pull out of Minnesota, which he did not do, or he would double down in Minnesota and with Bovino, and then eventually, sadly, there'd be another death at some point, sooner rather than later probably, because things were getting really heated in Minnesota. Trump came up with the perfect solution. Whatever, we don't know exactly how he did it. He had this phone call with Walz. Walz completely caved. He did a 180. He's got the state police now working with ICE. They're arresting protesters. They're running protesters out of the state. And I'm telling you, I know they've had to have cut their funding. Their major funder was a guy from Canada. It was reported over the weekend. I promise you that's been cut off. Now we've got, by the way, we did all this without the Insurrection Act. And, the Insurrection Act is a last choice thing. You send in the Army. This wasn't like what happened in D.C. with the Army just hanging out on the street corners. This would have been a very violent possible confrontation between soldiers and these lunatics that were the anti-ICE protesters. And President Trump did all of this without the Insurrection Act. And these Democrats around the country, they've noticed, and they're like, well, we're done. What are we going to do? Now, there's a lot of talk now that, Kristi Noem's in trouble. Kristi Noem's in trouble. Kristi Noem had a long meeting last night at the White House with the president. Okay, Kristi Noem is fine. Bovino, he may not be, okay, because he obviously wasn't able to handle the situation like Tom Homan will be able to do. But the situation was a difficult situation. It was. I mean, and it was getting worse with these protesters. But everything's under control now. Now that doesn't mean there's not going to be more incidents. Okay, I mean, there's a lot of brain damaged liberals, and these illegals don't want to get picked up. But I was earlier in the show, I went over the latest polls from the New York Times and CNN, ABC and CBS. Every single poll, the question, Steve, do you support the deportations of the illegals? over 50% in every poll said yes. New York Times, ABC, CBS, CNN. One of the polls from the New York Times had it at 64% in support of what Trump's doing. And between those polls, between the Signal chat, and then the surrender of Walz to Trump yesterday after a brief phone call that we don't know what was said, it's over. There's going to be incidents. They're arresting violent felons with a lot of these illegals, so they're not going to go willingly, and there'll be some incidents with them. But slowly, you're going to start to see the anti-ICE protests fade away. And I know this because ICE has been doing mass protests in every state, and there's 50 of them, Democrats, and we've only seen resistance in one, Minnesota. Okay? So, and so they're focused on the cleanup in Minnesota. It's not like they have a nationwide thing that they've got to cover up. Now, I want to talk about Jupiter Joe Thomas. You know, I was talking about Joe Thomas earlier, about how I've talked to many listeners, and no matter what their income bracket is, whether they're rich, whether they're blue collar, whether they have a pension, whether they're on Social Security or whatever their income bracket is, all of them tell me the same thing. That revenue stream every month, a check in the mail every month like clockwork is what they want, no matter what their income level is. And some of them have told me it's like their Social Security check. You know, Joe Thomas says everyone knows what day of the month their Social Security gets deposited in their bank account. With your guaranteed income every month with the annuity, it's the same thing, like clockwork with your Social Security check. And, you know, stop worrying about money in your retirement. Stop struggling in your retirement. Call Joe Thomas. Schedule your no-charge consultation, which you can do no matter where you're located. You can do it by phone or Zoom, or if you're local and you want to meet with him in his office in Jupiter, you can do that too. Give him a call, 561-743-0999. 561-743-0999. And if you missed the number, just go to his website, jupiterjoe.com. jupiterjoe.com. All right, so just to end, you know, you go back, Steve, Trump has been on the scene for over 10 years now. He came down the escalator 11 years ago. He's never lost. You know, and those who oppose him, they'll never learn. No matter how bad it seems, in the end, President Trump is always proven right, and President Trump always wins. And I can't think of a single time he's not won in the 11 years he's been on the political scene. And I just don't know when his political opposition, when they're going to realize that, Steve, because I knew this would turn out in the end well. I just didn't know how much.
Didn't know it would come so quickly.
Yeah. You know, because after that shooting of that guy on Saturday, you know, they were gearing up to, you know, by the way, they're telling us his gun had a hair trigger on it, and it may have gone off accidentally. And I remember the only time I've been around a gun with a hair trigger, years ago, you bought a gun and you had it for just a couple days, you sold it, it had a hair trigger on it. And do you remember that gun, Steve? The hair trigger?
No, I don't.
Oh. You only had it for like 2 days, and you sold it to somebody. You sold it to Nick. And I had heard about guns with hair triggers, but I'd never seen one. And I took it unloaded, by the way, because I didn't want to, you know, risk it at the gun range or anything. It's dangerous. You put your finger on that trigger, the gun fired. I'd never seen anything like it. And I've heard
they're very dangerous.
Oh my goodness. I don't know how that happens. You must have to rig the gun. I don't know how that happens. But a hair trigger, I mean, you just touched it. And I'm not talking about pulling the trigger. On that gun, you touched the trigger on that hair trigger gun you've had, and it fired. I was, even though I knew it wasn't loaded, I was scared. I've heard of hair triggers, but I thought you still had to pull the trigger. You just didn't have to put much weight on it. But they're saying that this weapon has a hair trigger historically, the SIG. I don't know too much about the SIGs. I've never owned one. And they believe, a lot of the experts, that the hair trigger fired the gun during the fight, and that's what resulted in the shooting. We're going to find out, because President Trump, they're going to be multiple investigations on that gun, and we'll find out if it had a hair trigger on it. I saw a guy with a SIG. He just touched the gun and it fired online. He was showing how these guns are. They're very dangerous. I don't know why someone would own one. All right, well, that's it for us today. The show has flown by. We've covered a lot. It's been a great day. Tim Walz surrendered. Canada surrendered. Another day of winning, thanks to President Trump. You're listening to The Steve Kane Show, Florida's longest-running radio show, on the radio since 1977, celebrating 49 years on the radio. I'm Brian Craig. Steve Kane has been here. We'll see you tomorrow at 6 a.m. God bless America, and God bless Donald Trump. See you tomorrow, 6 a.m. All right, Steve, I'll talk to you later. All right, take care. All right, I'm going to continue for a little while. So if you guys would like to call back in, you are welcome to do so. The number is toll-free, 888-465-2631, 888-465-2631. It's a toll-free call, and it's pinned in the live chat. This is the post show. I'm going to just go for a little bit because I want to talk about a couple things. This is the front of the Drudge Report, okay? And they got on thin ice, Bovino out, and they've got this crazy picture of Kristi Noem, and they're trying to act as if Kristi Noem's in trouble. Bovino may be in trouble, all right? But, oh, welcome, new subscriber. Welcome there. Mac Neal, welcome to the channel. Thanks for subscribing. They're trying to lay everything on her. Bovino is not a cabinet official, and he may be out. I don't know. I'm hearing multiple reports about Bovino. I'm not invested in Bovino, okay? I'm invested in Trump, in the MAGA movement. And I love Tom Homan, and everyone loves Tom Homan. And we can already see Tom Homan's taking control. Now, so far as Kristi Noem, President Trump hasn't fired anyone of significance, and he's not going to. We're in an election year. Even if he thought Kristi Noem should be fired, he wouldn't fire her, okay? She's not in trouble. She's fine. She met with the president at the White House last night, and she was there with Corey Lewandowski was in on the meeting, so she's fine. But the media, and it was an interesting thing with the calls on today's show. The media aren't promoting, or should I say, the media are not reporting properly what's been going on in Minnesota, as I could tell by the calls. No ICE agents have been withdrawn. Border Patrol and ICE are different agencies, okay? They might both be under Homeland, but they're different. And they may be pulling out Bovino and some of the Border Patrol, but ICE is staying. And if you notice, there's a lot of pressure. Like, look at this. This is trending on X right now. Push to replace Pam Bondi. The anti-Trump people want Trump to fire someone, because with a firing comes possible scandal that they could run with, or they could have that person as a pundit on CNN trashing Trump during this election year. Trump is keeping close ranks. He's not in the mood for firing anyone, not anyone of significance. Now, Bovino has got to be humiliated. And I didn't go through any of the stories about him today because none of them have been confirmed. Okay? None of them have been confirmed. The story that he lost access to his social media. I don't know that that's true or not. Maybe it's not. There were some reports that he had been promoted, some reports he went back to California. I don't know, and I don't care about Bovino. It's not that I dislike Bovino, and he seems pretty cool confronting these people out there. But so who cares about Bovino and where he's at right now, right? And I think most MAGA people are with me on that. Why would you care about any of that? I care about President Trump. Now, if you're new to the program, make sure that you subscribe. Now, this is the War Room yesterday, and this is DC Drano. You guys follow DC Drano on X? Listen to this. He's talking about this Signal app. Yep. Yep. Crazy. Terrifying. Yeah, now that's insane. And how are they getting all these license plates, right? That's even scary. I mean, these are violent people. And I know the media are saying, well, calling them domestic terrorists was inappropriate. It sounds like domestic terrorism to me, doesn't it? You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, Brian, it's Jack. Why haven't you shown the video of Alex Peretti being shot?
Because I don't show people, I don't show videos of people being shot. And it's all over the internet. It's all over the internet. So you all can go and watch it.
So why you lie about it?
I said you can go all over the internet and watch it all you want. All right, it's everywhere. That's just me. All right, so back to DC Drano, right? I mean, you know. Yep. Mm-hmm. And by the way, Peretti that got shot on Saturday was in that Signal chat. A code. They have codes so they can communicate in code. Yep. Yep. Now that may be, see, DC Drano, he's very good. I haven't seen him on an interview in a long time, but DC Drano there, that may have been a large part of what got Tim Walz to cave, is so many people on his staff involved in this Signal chat. Now listen to this. This is CNN. And this is, I cannot remember his name. He's the governor of Kentucky. Did they give me his name? They'll give it on the screen. This is the Democrat governor of Kentucky. Listen, this was yesterday. Listen to this. Crazy. Okay, now this is what I was talking about earlier, that, you know, these Democrats around the country were watching Minnesota to see what Trump's reaction would be, right? Now we know it's different than what they were expecting. But see, this guy, he was getting ready. The Democrats were they were testing the waters of Minnesota, and then they were about to form a new Democrat Confederate States of America. And here's Kentucky was signaling they were ready to join the Confederate state of Minnesota. Oh, yeah, it's concerning. See what was about to happen? And President Trump stopped all of this yesterday. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, sorry from West Palm.
Hey, West Palm.
Hey, that big T320, that thing's been known for a while to discharge. I think that's been responsible for officers actually shooting themselves. You can look that up. That's
Really?
been a fact
Yeah.
for a while.
Yeah, it's a dangerous gun, apparently.
Yeah, I don't know why they went to that one from the P220. That's what I got.
Well, it was the protester that got shot. That was his weapon that he was carrying with the extra magazines.
Right. And who goes and commits a crime with a gun? I mean, come on, man.
No, a domestic terrorist.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully they get it under control, man. Have a good day.
I think they've
Brian.
done. All right, appreciate the call from West Palm. Yeah. Yeah, and Don Lemon is in big trouble. This is the minister from the church that Don Lemon led that break-in of. Yeah, I mean that's you know what Don Lemon and these people did is illegal, and people, you know, you go to church, it's not a place to be harassed by these left-wing terrorists and everything they're doing. And so Don Lemon, it's not over for them yet. And by the way, I wouldn't be so sure that Don Lemon's not going to face those criminal charges. Not at all. It's not over. It's not over. It's a new day in Minnesota right now. Everything has changed. If you're new to the program, make sure you subscribe, all right? Please do. You'll enjoy this program, I promise you. Anytime I'm live streaming in one of the studios, I take live calls like you hear me do here, and you're all welcome to call in, regardless of your viewpoint. All opinions are welcome. Although some of the liberals they use language we can't use on the radio, but all opinions are welcome. So make sure you subscribe. And also, if you could take the link to the program and share on your socials and invite your friends and followers on social media to check the program out, I'd appreciate that as well. My name's Brian Craig. This is where MAGA comes to talk. Thanks for tuning in. I will talk to you next time. Take care.